It's just one of those days. It is just one of those days. Hello, everyone. Apologies for being late. One of the great challenges of the day is, life. What a difficult time that things are. But I'm a parent, so I have to say things like, Dexter, please put your underwear back on and head upstairs, Captain Underpants. I know you're having fun. Thank you. That's the highlight of my day. That's the good part. Today, Trump's big, beautiful bill passed. Today, the big, beautiful bill passed. If you are not aware of American politics, the reality of what that means and how that's set up is extraordinary. And there is, I see it in the QC even, which is not something that sort of hits all the time. We do live in a time of like general political upheaval, right? Like generally, politically, we're in a fucked up time. We are. And it's really, really common for people to sort of move themselves past where we're at to sort of put their heads down when things are generally kind of shit. And I appreciate that. I don't say otherwise. The challenge we're in because of that, the challenge we're at is that this is so awful. And if you don't understand how awful, I'll go through a handful of ways. This is so awful that it actually is kind of opening up a new, I believe, this is so awful it will be opening up a new reality of politics. And we've talked about on this channel about how what Trump did, how Trump works, and how the Democrats have no idea how to respond to him is sort of the hardening to an extreme level of what had come before. Trump isn't really an outlier. It's one of the reasons that the critiques from the left of Kamala and Biden and Obama, it's why they ring true. And it's why they, you feel them when they say things like, Trump is no better than Kamala. You feel it because there's generally a thrust underneath that. There are differences, but the political order that created where we're at has been what it's been and will continue to be what it's been. And I think that reality is going away with this. To be very clear, the amount of budget cuts that are in the big, beautiful bill is not a small amount. It's so significant that it's going to actually close 10% of rural clinics, maybe most rural clinics in America. It's going to knock 8 to 10% of people off Medicare. Medicaid is the supporting program, the social safety net program. Medicare tends to be for the older, impoverished, and it's expected very much. People expect it. The way that these have always functioned is always complex. But as the Republicans did a huge bunch of cuts to everything and gave massive tax breaks to the top 0.1%, not even the top 0.1%, trillions of dollars of tax breaks. The amount of it is actually going to drop about $90 billion a year from Medicare. And the way that functions and the way that actually lands is not going to be pretty. But it's not just that. Across the board, the way that they did everything in this is disenfranchising to the poor in every way. We're going to see SNAP destroyed as someone who has been going through difficult financial times on and off for a decade and someone who has children. If you don't understand how important SNAP benefits are to families right now, especially right now, and the idea that they're going to be gone, it's hard to even actually conceptualize what that will do to people who right now have no idea that they're even in the targets of this bill. Trump voters are deeply uninformed and they live inside of bubbles, but there's no way to bubble yourself out of income. There's no way to bubble yourself out of SNAP, out of Medicare, Medicaid. They're eliminating seniors from having cheaper drugs. Mostly Trump voters, huge amount of Trump voters in that cohort. This is going to be a thing that is disastrous for America. And it's not hard to step into the other side and to say things like, well, that's it. We've lost hope. There's nothing we can do. It's actually the opposite. And it will continue to be the opposite. We're going to talk a little bit about our reading from Tuesday in Anti-Oedipus. Very particular phrasing that I want to go over inside of it. Because it's the answer to their question, but it's an answer to the question of our time. Anti-Oedipus, founded on basically a question. Why do the masses, why did they desire fascism? It's a deeply unsatisfying answer when we talk about the Nazis, or we talk about Soviet Union, or we talk about America across the board. Pick a place. I don't give a fuck. And we go, why do they want to be repressed? Why do they want fascism? Oh, it's ideologically. Oh, they've been tricked. Oh, they're too stupid. Oh, they're in a filter bubble. Oh, it's because they're self-interested. All of this puts you in a place of not having a real political discussion, because you're just saying to them, oh, you're doing that because you're wrong. And their answer is literally the same thing back. You aren't supporting me because you have had the wool pulled over your eyes. The reason this works like this is because the system, the way things interact, the way things interplay at large, and the superstructure of it in the Marxist sense, but it just in the way things function, it works as it does. And there are two kinds of people. There are people whose interests are actually represented in the system. And there are people who find their interests represented in the system. These are different. But there is no second political class. If you oppose the capitalist class, you're just doing a counter investment in the very same bits that they're invested in. You're just opposing. You're only tearing with the negative. You're not actually creating anything. And it's one of the great challenges that the left has faced in my lifetime, is they've only ever been able to vocalize that they're against things. They talk about it in ways that are intellectual, generally very spot on. Very spot on. Hey, by the way, this is very bad. You'll end up being more poor. Hey, do you know how much the 1% has? Bernie's right. I'm not saying he's wrong on these things, but the thing is, you can't get invested in a counter investment. Deleuze and Guattari in Anti-Oedipus, because of this, they say there really is only one political class, the bourgeoisie. Everyone else is in opposition to this, but they're not in opposition in the same way. They're not a unified class. A unified political class, like the bourgeois, for example, the people whose interests are in line with capital, they are actually invested in the same direction, the same stuff. They're finding themselves in the same thing, right? Right? Everyone else is invested in different things, scattered to the wind, you might say, completely without rudder, without North Star. So the proletariat, and this is why Marx ended up coming with so many fun names for proletariat, for the lumpen proletariat, the latent proletariat. I don't care, because it doesn't work like that. You aren't really part of the working class unless that's the dominant method of the system. You're invested differently. You and I, whoever you are watching this, if you are sad about the events today, if you're not invested in the system, the chances are we're not interested in the same things. Not exactly. I certainly don't know words I can say that are the same as what Trump used. Make America great again. Keep the system the way it is. Capitalism works. These things and the system that they're finding themselves in, and they're able to find their representation in, or they're actually able to be represented in the system, that is material stuff that they can deal with. So they're invested. Everyone else, we're kind of not. We don't have a lot. We don't have a lot of other things to invest in. We don't have a real message. We have only counter messaging. We only have counter messaging. It's like in high school when they're the cool kids and they're everywhere. And then you go, well, I'm not going to be like them. I'm going to be the opposite. They are defining you still. They're still defining you. To break away from this, to actually have a political moment is possible. It's possible now, but it's hard to do because every time you get asked about things, every time you talk about things, when you respond to the narrative by answering the narrative in the tone and story of the narrative, that's it. You've lost. That's the end. Do you know who hasn't done that recently? Mamdani. Mamdani, right? He's a Muslim dude in New York. Cool dude. I like him. I'm a big fan. If you ever watch his interviews, do it. You'll notice he doesn't answer the narrative. Not directly. He never says, oh, I'm opposed to, do you believe in this? I don't know. No, what I'm interested in this. Do you believe Israel should be a Jewish state? Oh, I believe everyone in Israel should have equal rights. That's not answering the narrative. That's not joining with the current investment. That is creating a different thing to be invested in. You are creating, he's creating, not you. He created, his team, his people, whoever the fuck, created a new way for people to be invested. You can do this. It's not the same thing as the large-scale class. We don't have that. People don't have a class. The class is the system and the people who work within it and where their investments are. That's it. Everyone else needs to figure out what else there is. Well, the fun part is the system is going to be breaking. It's going to get worse. We have another 18 months before the results of the next election, the next senatorial, the midterm election, before they take effect. That's a long time. It's a very long time. We aren't even fully 6 months into this presidency. We're about to be, but we're not even fully 6 months. We're not a quarter of the way into this congressional term. We've got a lot worse coming, and it's going to be getting worse. Yet in this, as things break down, as the politics of it shifts, as what it means for a person to be invested, it gives us a chance to have a different answer. It's what I've been saying for, I want to say since November. I've been saying since really the inception of this channel. The reason people vote for who they vote for is because they see themselves represented in that person. People go with where they are represented. That's it. Class is still one of the universal categories in this economy. Yeah, the class of the bourgeois. Everyone else is not a class. There isn't one. I would be very hard pressed to understand how we can conceive of a class except in the negative. If I were to say the proletariat, I'm not part of that to a lot of people. No. Is someone who makes $300,000 a year part of the proletariat? No. That's not rich. If you think that's rich, you don't understand our economy. You don't understand the economy. What's the proletariat? Oh, it's only what's counter to the bourgeois. But what does counter mean? Oh, well, then we're lost. There is no class. There is none. There can be a group of people that's loosely defined that we don't. No, they don't exist like that. you're invested in the system or not. Everything else is ideational, transcendent, easily fucked with, symbolic, representational. Trump's winning, and he won because he expressed people's representational understanding and their investment socially directly. That's it. No one else won because they didn't. They didn't. So what do? Well, you change the conversation. Because it's not class. It's not class. People will not be able to find themselves in that class. Do you know what class people do easily find themselves in? The bourgeois. It's easy. Hey, are you in the group that's working with the system and doing things right? Yes, it's very easy for people to find themselves there. It's always been easy for people to find themselves there. That's how the Nazis got powder. That's how it works. That's how fascist groups have always won, because it's easy to dive in. It's how they did it in the Soviet Union and China, because people were able to find themselves invested in the party apparatus. That is the bourgeois. That's the actual method of investment, is the material production. Production determines how we can invest. Bourgeois is that. It's how all of these things continually turn out. Continually they turn out this way, over and over and over. Class is still defined by relation means of production. No. That's my point. How do I relate to the means of production? I mean, you're free to tell me. If you want to talk about the proletariat is the one who is under the heel, I mean, I own my computer, and so I'm streaming. I own my own means of production. YouTube owns it. But what does that mean? Do we want the state? We've lost. That is not a conversation. But the bourgeois, yeah, it fits. The people in line with power and who see themselves represented in the power structure and who help maintain it, which is mostly all of us to some extent. But it's because there's no secondary thing to invest in, no other thing for us to put our energy into or to see ourselves in. The fooled masses are not fooled. They see themselves represented. Is it incorrect? Is it wrong? Is it bad? We can talk about those things, but their interests are being represented. How they go about their days are being represented. How they see the world is being represented. Mine's not. So I'm just kind of the rest. You're just kind of the rest. We are kind of the rest. Music said, capitalism can overcome even its own class conflict to remain stable. Yes. Well, and this is why again, Zizek, I wish you would read Deleuze one time. That's the point of Anti-Oedipus, is that capitalism only has one class. The group that is actually invested in the system is the class. Everyone else is scattered because they don't fit that. When you don't fit the actual material conditions of things, you're scattered. You're just detached. You can say everything you want. You can counter-invest. You can scream in a million directions. But it's all abstract because you're not actually invested in something that is ideational. It has to be actually in the system. So we're going to be hitting that. Why? Because the system's not going to be producing what it did. It's already stopped for the most part. If you haven't seen the jobs numbers, they ain't great. If you haven't seen the numbers of imports, exports, and how business, they ain't great. It's all collapsing. Capital actually does have, it turns out, sort of weird little limits. Fascism with capital, maybe less so. But it gives us a chance to push in a different way. What if everyone becomes bourgeois? Is that a solution? I would say in Marx's communist utopia, everyone would be bourgeois because they'd be the class, because everyone would have ownership of the means of production of their own production. There's only one class. There's only one class. And I want to talk about this. So we're actually going to read a little bit. I know it's horrifying that I want to do that. Reading and going into theory. I know a lot of people aren't used to that online. It's very, very difficult. Let me see exactly where I want to go. I'm having trouble with Space Desk right now. I have a weird monitor. What the fuck? Whatever, it's fine. It's very strange right now. That's okay. 2 seconds. It's popping back. There we go. What do you think about capital as power if you read it? Capital as power. Oh, you're not talking about Das Capital. God damn it. My brain won't be able to do that right now. Can we come back to it? Do remind me, though. For the most part, do remind me. We'll come back around to it. We'll go here. And we go straight to the reading. Please work, please work, please work. Worked. Now the question is, where do I want to start? We're going to start right here at the top. So, it's going to use jargon. As we go, I'm going to kind of gloss over the jargon a little bit. If you have questions, don't hesitate to go the fuck and the word. I'm happy to have that conversation. I'm happy to go further into it. This is Anti-Oedipus, Deleuze and Guattari. This is literally from our reading on Tuesday, and it happened to be, the timing's perfect. Membership in a class refers to the role in production or anti-production. Anti-production is the upkeep of the system. To the place in the inscription, to the portion due subjects. The preconscious class interest, which is the idea that I am part of the bourgeois, what class I am part of. I am white, I am black, I'm rich, I'm poor, whatever that is. These aren't intellectual classes. The class is preconscious, but it's not unconscious. It's a thing there. The preconscious class interest itself thus refers to a selection of flux, the detachment of codes, the subjective remains and revenues. And from this viewpoint, it is indeed true that an aggregate comprises practically only a single class, that class which has an interest in a given regime. The regime is the social system at large. The other class can constitute itself only by a counterinvestment that creates its own interest in terms of new social aims, organs, and means, a new possible state of social syntheses. Whence the necessity for the other class to be represented by a party apparatus that assigns these aims and means. The only other way a class appears, and it is something that has to be created and appear, is that it can be invested, creating its own interest in terms of new social aims, organs, and means, a new possible state of social syntheses, invested in a new way of the social system to operate. A new way, not an anti-way, not an older way, a new way. That's the only way a class can appear, which is possible. We don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have that. In this domain of preconscious investments of class or interest, it is therefore easy to distinguish what is reactionary or reformist and what is revolutionary. But those who have an interest in this sense are always of a smaller number than those whose interest in some fashion is had or represented. The class, from the standpoint of praxis, practical interaction, is infinitely less numerous or less extensive than the class taken in with its theoretical determination. What we call, as a society, the bourgeois or the ruling class or whatever, a lot of people feel it. They see themselves represented in it. It's not the same thing as those who actually get dividends or the system pays out. And it's one of those things that's really important to remember. This is not just D&G. This is Marx. It's really hard to remember. The bourgeois are what they are because the system works super well for them. And when I say super well, I don't mean that it's comfortable. I mean, literally, they get a bunch of everything. They get money and freedom and the ability to, they get to have their potentious exerted everywhere. The desire gets to freely. If Jeff Bezos tomorrow said, I want to become the master of origami, and I want to do nothing but origami for the next 6 months. He can do that. And not only can he do that, he can totally do it in like the coolest ways possible. He can go hire the top origami people globally. He can buy an origami paper mill and have a perfectly like brilliant version of origami paper made. He can do all of those things that he's freely able to connect as he wants. He's able to exert himself entirely. Capitalism works super well for him. Our system works super well for him and for a good number of those people. Not a huge number, just a good number. 0.1%, less than 0.1% in reality. Everyone else, it's important to remember, are fucked. They're not actually getting the dividends, but they see themselves represented. I made this point Tuesday, and I'm going to repeat it again. How much money do you guys think is rich? I'm always fascinated by this. Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. What money do you think? And when I say like, how much money do you have to be rich? And anything below that, we'll just say is not rich. Is it $10 million? Does that make you rich? $1 billion is crazy money. Is it 100 million, 200 million, 500 million? There's a lot of people who have I know people who have 30 million-ish probably in wealth overall. Do you know how they see the world? With nightmares. Because they're not quite rich yet. They're actually nervous. It costs money for you to exist into old age. If say you have a retirement war chest of $5 million, you own a home. This feels, and you see yourself represented in the ruling class. But are you getting the dividends? Because you're not. Your ability to survive, have your medical bills paid, have your life taken care of for the next 20 or 30 years, depending on health, have your children not have to worry and stress. 2 million is not enough. 3 million is not enough. 10 million isn't really enough. There's numbers you have to start getting to just sort of not have to be stressed about what's coming. Now, you and I, with my baller $500 a month from YouTube, I'm getting up there. I might make 550 this month. I am fucking rolling in it. I'm not quite at the $25 million mark. And so the stress you and I experience for being worried about paying rent, food, other things. Are my children's going to be taken care of? What does my future look like? Is my career happening? All of these things. That stress, which is a real stress, it isn't uncommon. I don't see myself represented. Many people don't see themselves represented. But someone who has $5 million might see themselves represented. But they're not getting dividends. They're not actually getting paid out. They don't get to enjoy it. Marx talks about this. This is kind of the point. It's the bourgeois aren't people necessarily who are making all the money. There's the Rockefellers and the Musks and all of that. But the bourgeois are kind of a weird group. They're not all factory owners who get everything. They're like sort of wealthy enough to not be dependent, but also not exactly independent. Like, yeah, 10 million would fundamentally change your life. Sure. It's not enough to retire. Not in America. Maybe you could get away with it to a point. You buy a really cheap place. You pay a handful of taxes every year. But what about medical care? Do you want to have family? Do you want to have kids? Do you want them to go to school? Do you want them to be comfortable, have a house? Do you want to make sure that they have a nice nest egg? People deal with less, for sure. But dividends, they're not getting paid out at the same rate. They're not getting dividends. Do you know who is? Trump's kids. $billion deals. Musk's, well, maybe not kids. Musk is getting paid out. People in Trump's orbit who are not, 100 millionaires, they're not getting dividends. They're seeing themselves represented. And as that changes, what changes a person to not see themselves represented? Well, for a lot of people, it is actually being in the shit. When you don't see yourself represented, it's because generally the way things are working ain't working for you at all. We're going to be there. Oh my God, Fargo season 3 was so good. Fuck, find me that scene. I'll have to edit it later, but we can watch it. I have a friend who, so I come from the world of video games. It's my primary career for the last 15, 20 years. I've done amazing work. I'm very proud of my work. My resume is excellent. I have awards. I have crazy awards, that I never thought I'd get. Like Tom Cruise presenting things, like Weird Life. And there's no work. Nothing. There was a post on LinkedIn. I'm connected to a guy who was the 14th, I believe, employee at Blizzard. He's part of the group that literally built 3 of the largest video game franchises that have ever existed in the history of the world. What's up? Question. Heather's here. One moment.
Your child doesn't have Doodle God on his iPad anymore because I think it turned into some crap. This shit. Can we just buy him the 99-cent one?
Is it not in Apple Arcade?
No.
They have it.
I mean, as far as I know, it doesn't.
The 99-cent one's the phone one.
Oh.
I've had it over like shit.
Wait a minute. Oh, 1 second. Can I just pick one?
I am wearing a takeoff of a Brat shirt, which is Kamala's. It's Kamala's coconut tree saying. Everyone says hello, Heather.
Hello, everyone. Is that everyone?
You know, I mean, it is everyone. All 97 of them.
Which one should we do? There's this one, or just like, I don't want the crafter. This one, Blitz, or HD Blitz.
Doodle God Universe.
But that's not the Doodle God. He wants it just Doodle God.
That is Doodle God.
He doesn't want to craft it, does he? Doodle God is the one where you combine?
It is that.
Okay.
Doodle God does this. It's a different name for it.
Okay, so we have to get you up.
I have to allow it. I know.
Okay.
One sec. We're getting my son a new Apple Arcade download, but we have like parental controls in there.
You're right. Sorry, I didn't see that.
I didn't get a notification.
It's still going. I don't know how that happened. Did it just allow it?
I mean, Apple Arcade, it does.
Okay.
Sorry about that. My kid is a great age of like wanting different things and trying stuff. It's tough. So, 14th member of Blizzard created 3 of the largest video game franchises in history and was formative in creating all 3 and oversaw their growth to StarCraft 2, Warcraft 3, and World of Warcraft and Diablo, like was there forever. He has given up on work. He can't find work. He can't find work. No one can. The industry's broken. Microsoft laid off another multiple thousands of people from their game division, closing entire studios that had been in work for 7+ years, 500+ people. Like, they don't give a shit. It's all falling apart. They're not getting dividends. People aren't getting dividends. This is how you find yourself in a place of like, oh, the system's not working for me. I don't see myself in the system. When the system's working generally for you and you find yourself represented in it, it works great. You work great. Continues to work great. It's very difficult. It's one of the reasons you can't convince people out of this. People are built by their material conditions. People are built by the world they're in and how they're able to enforce themselves in it. A person who's in a position to generally be okay, even though they're not getting the dividends that others are, they're not going to want to change things. That's going away. It's going away for a lot of people in ways they don't understand. Jobs reports are coming out. Everything is collapsing. It's across the board. We are in a really, really bad place. And in that is potential. In that is potential. Thank you, Suresh. This is one of my. If you haven't watched Fargo, the series, I think all of the seasons are excellent. Some are stronger than others, but that's more of a taste thing actually for me than anything. That I think puts us in a spot of like talking about an amazing, amazing show. If you haven't seen it, this dude is. There's kind of the same structure as Fargo the movie, more or less. Weird hitman, families and crime bosses. It's like all that structure with like innocent weirdos who get caught up in the whole thing and in over their heads. Fantastic show. But, and we're going to get back to AO, don't worry. But I want to make sure that I get in here. Let's see. YouTube. And you go here and you go here. What being rich means. We're going to bring it out, blah, 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 and then you go up.
Colin sigh.
There's a lot of fantastic actors in
I'm
this.
not making you a partner in my company. You just flew in on the win Thursday. Colin sigh.
So he's playing a guy who's in over his head. And this guy here is a sort of crime lord psychotic. More or less.
And here's me thinking you were the boss. In the favelas of Brazil, there are 6-year-olds with Glocks. They rove in packs, stealing whatever they can find. Mexican lowlives stream into this country like wolves, eyeing our women and children. In the Congo, a family of 6 live on 10 cents a day. You turn on the TV, what do you see? Boat people. Mass migration. You're living in the age of the refugee, my friend.
Look, if you won't take back your money, well, I can't make you.
You see it, don't you? Millions of people bought houses they couldn't afford, and now they're living on the streets. 85% of the world's wealth is controlled by 1% of the population. What do you think?
He is meant to be a piece of shit. Just letting you know. This is not the hero of the story.
What's going to happen when those people wake up and realise you've got all their money?
Hey, I just charge for parking.
Oh, you think they're going to ask questions when they come with their pitchforks and their torches? You live in a mansion. You drive a $90,000 car.
It's a lease through the company.
Look at me. Look at me. This is a $200 suit. I wear a second-hand tie. I fly coach. Not because I can't afford first, because I'm smart. So look at you and look at me and tell me who's the richer.
I feel like this is a trick question.
There's an accounting coming, Mr. Stussy. And you know I'm right. Mongol hordes descending. Now what are you doing to insulate yourself and your family? You think you're
It's one of the...
rich? You've no idea what rich means.
He's so
Rich is a
good in this.
fleet of private planes filled with decoys to mask your scent. It's a bunker in Wyoming and another in Gestad. So that's action item 1, the accumulation of wealth. And I mean wealth, not money.
What's action item number 2?
To use that wealth to become invisible.
It's one of the best sets of dialogue because his point, and I actually believe this, is people who have money outwardly rich, they're not rich. They don't know what rich is. They have a lot of money, but getting dividends from the system, is different than having money. He says, it's having planes, a fleet of jets filled with decoys. We're talking about that level of wealth that exists now in ways that's hard to even have a conversation about, because it is so insurmountably larger than anything we would be talking about otherwise. No one can even relate to the amount of how that wealth works. We can't even relate to that. Our ability to have these conversations is limited across the board. Because what is there? We have paychecks. They have dividends. Is the difference income-based or control of production? Define control of production. The difference is the rentier class. When people talk about how much money there is out there, just think about this for a second. If I were to just take right now, tomorrow, wealth, and when I say wealth, non-productive, held, speculative money assets, land, art, whatever. People have wealth that they're sitting on, not at their speculative value. If I were to just tax at whatever percent, say 10% of wealth in America, and only the top 10% of all wealth. If I were to tax that 10% just tomorrow, we would be able to eliminate half of the entire federal debt, begin doing immediately full education for everybody, full health care for everyone, child care for everyone. We'd be able to talk about a UBI at $25,000 to $30,000 a year for every person in America, including children. That's 10% tax on the top 10% of wealth. Do you understand how much money that is? It's hard to actually have a discussion about. It's that large. Isn't that just financial capital? The industrial capital, sure. It's wealth. That's it. You can replace 100% of all taxes, state, local, and otherwise. If you did like a 15 to 20% wealth tax on the top 10%, all taxes. Yes, even that one. Correct, that one too. All taxes. That's how much money the top 10% have versus everyone else. We don't tax wealth, though. We tax income. And income is something that wealthy people don't have. They don't. But we wouldn't need the marijuana excise tax. We wouldn't need property taxes. We wouldn't need sales taxes. We wouldn't need income tax. We wouldn't need any taxes in the entire country of the United States at any level. And we could replace them 100% and more if we tax the top 10% of wealth at 15%, which isn't really a significant tax. That's 15%. Imagine we had a 15% flat tax on all wealth. Doesn't count the home that you live in. Doesn't on businesses. You can have a business. Fuck it. Take your business. Good. Let's be pro-business communists. Top 10% and wealth, we tax. Everyone else, we don't care. Pro-business. We could eliminate all that and have a surplus of money. That's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. And Shai Hulud, you are spot goddamn on. If they buy things, they do it by taking out loans. The extension of that payment is cheaper for them because they're able to utilize that money in rentier capacities that makes them enough money for them to basically pay that off. They have wealth that sits, and that interest and appreciation they borrow money against, so they're actually never risking anything. And I'm subscribed to this weirdo CIA agent. I am endlessly recommended to you. I do what I can. My weird CIA accent and style where I say things like, taxing the wealthiest people could eliminate all other taxes. And imagine if we just did it across the board. Imagine we just went, hey, we just top 10%. We're just going to gradually take more and more for the top, like 90%, 91, 92. We take another 8%, 8%, 8%. And then we do it, we graduate it. So a person who has $1 billion, they pay on the top marginal part of that, they pay like fucking 80% of that. Who gives a shit? They fucking get to have $1 billion goddamn dollars. We would not only be able to pay for everything I just said, but like everyone could live in like, I don't know, big houses. Like, what the fuck? You doubt the practical application of my idea. Feel free. It's called land value tax. It's been done before. It's just applied to different ways and reconsidered. But again, it's not the point. To understand, I'm not even saying, the point isn't whether or not it's feasible. The point is, that's how much wealth there is. And I don't think anyone here had a concept of that. I didn't until I started doing the math on it. 15% of the wealth of the top 10% is enough money to pay for everything all over and more in every way. That's how much money that is. That doesn't even make them poor. Imagine if we were to make them poor. We're not even close. By the way, this doesn't even get rid of the defense budget. When I say all the budget, I mean the 100% of government spending. 7% of over that 10% literally covers 100% of the federal budget. 7% tax. Let's do the math on it. Yeah. It's about state redistribution. I don't even know. Again, giving people health care and all of that. I'm not even saying give them housing. By having a wealth tax, you put downward pressure on speculative vehicles. You change people's fundamental relationship to things being bought and rented because they're being taxed on it. It's not being used. It's not being productive. It's rentier capacity. It's wealth. Well, that forces the housing market to shift. Suddenly they have to change prices because it's not whatever the nearest firm or the rich person can buy for their 90th home. It's actually what can be afforded. And you, as someone who would live there, wouldn't be paying a hilarious tax that completely fucks over the idea of owning it as a 10th property. Again, state redistribution. Well, this would be the conversation I think is worth having. Because once people understand that level of cash is sitting there, literally sitting, by the way, speculatively sitting. And we're not even talking about all of it. We're talking about like a part of it that could completely fix the entire system. The understanding of the pitchforks, as the guy from Fargo 3 season 3 was talking about, the implication of the pitchforks becomes sharp, becomes real. The ability to understand that you are actually not represented, that you are in some capacity, but not getting dividends, having that break and understanding what it means to actually be in the top 1%, the top 0.1%, and how that curve becomes logarithmic real fast. But we don't understand that because we talk about things in terms of income, in terms of buying a house. Elon Musk, despite being the richest man on the planet, he actually owns, as far as billionaires go, kind of a moderate home. He owns a bunch of them. But the house he lives in Austin, it's a big house, but it's like a $5 million, $10 million home. Maybe say it's $50 million. That's not, I live in a home that I'm renting, but I live in a home that's probably worth like $800,000 is what apparently they're going to try to sell it for when they make us move. $1 million to $50 million. That's a magnitude, one step. It's the amount of money you can spend breaks off and it doesn't change. He's the richest man in the world, and that's the home he owns because that's how it works. Homes don't continue to go up. Cars don't continue to go up, but you can have many of them. You can have 100 yachts. You can have 20 homes because we only tax the income. Am I financially free? I'm not even close to financially free. And yes, I also am broke as shit. And we also pay state income tax. I'm in Washington. We don't pay an income tax here, which is great. And I go across the river to buy things. They don't have sales tax down there in the Oregon. This is crazy. I have a hard time wrapping my head around this. Can I provide a visual distinction? Okay. Let's say all of us eat olives. Here's a big thing of fucking olives, Costco olives, that I have just opened. This jar of olives, okay? And let's say I've got 100 people, okay? Say I've got 100 people. And 100 people they're hungry. They want an olive. This jar, one person would get this jar. Because the other 99 are so statistically insignificant, they don't count. That's the wealth distribution we currently have. You don't exist statistically in a wealth profile. Your share of the world, the share of you doesn't exist. You are not statistically relevant. That's it. They are so statistically relevant that the tax I pay on buying candy bars, the 7% sales tax or whatever, if they paid that on their wealth, it would fix the federal government entirely in the current budget and pay for all of it. Up that number, minor amounts, changes everything. So as D&G say, they want to go through and talk about there are revolutions that worked as a revolution, but failed in the long term. And Russia and China are those. Failed in the long term. They were successful in the sense that they, as revolutions took hold, versus others. They're comparing to May 68 in France, where there was kind of a nothing. It just didn't turn into anything. It wasn't successful. It didn't yield results. China did, Russia did, others did. Well, why? Well, the first step, as they say here, is that they were able to actually give a second thing for people to see themselves represented in party. The party apparatus, the party setup.
I'm Mario.
Hey, Mario, how are you doing? Sorry, it's going to be a moment. Violet's in here.
My friend Luigi's. Hello.
Oh, come here. Let me say hi.
I have a blue one. I have a green one.
You have a green one?
Yeah, and I have a blue one. Yeah.
You have two Luigis.
Yes.
What does Mario say?
Mamma Mia.
Awesome. Do you want to go show Dexter your Luigis?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for coming and showing me, though. Tell me that's not one of the most fucking adorable things. The way she says Mamma Mia. Are you fucking kidding me? I have no idea why she says it with that tone. She always says it in that tone. Fucking freaks me out. I love it. It's amazing. I don't give a fuck. That thing that they were able to do by creating a party apparatus gave people something to see themselves in. So it worked. But it doesn't end there, because there's two parts. That pre-conscious interest, people see themselves represented, that pre-conscious thing where they find themselves in a class. The class I see myself in, I'm part of the bourgeois, I'm part of the working thing. Or they see themselves as part of the party or the party apparatus. China, this worked exceptionally well. Still does, to be frank, in a lot of ways locally. China's a really interesting system. It's not communist, but it's a really interesting sort of system. Those things, these things that shift, there's a second part. And they continue. Because they're talking about the situation, the success of a dominant class to be switched, to be changed, to be taken over, to be a second investment. This situation, the party apparatus success, is not at all adequate, however, for resolving the following problem. Why do many of those who have, or should have, an objective revolutionary interest maintain a preconscious investment of a reactionary type? More rarely, how do certain people whose interest is objectively reactionary come to affect a preconscious revolutionary investment? There's a weird set of things that happens. John Brown is actually a pretty good example of what there more rarely is. John Brown had absolutely no reason to do what he did to slavers. Not in terms of like his class interest, his position, he clearly, in every objective way we can talk about, he clearly had an interest in keeping things, but he didn't. He did the opposite. It's really extraordinary shift when you talk about that, when you think about it. It makes sense that people who are on the bottom rungs feel that, but people who are in it, people who are successful, bigger ones, FDR, Roosevelt's were a crazy rich family. Yet the New Deal came from him, and it was actually the watered down version. He wanted to do more. Same with his wife, both wealthy people, very wealthy. What did that? How did you end up there? And also, how do we end up in the other place where we have, I don't know, poor black men pushing for Trump? That thing, because it's, as they say, to answer this, how this happens, must we invoke in the one case a thirst for justice, a just ideological position, as well as a correct and just view? Oh, well, they're just right, and that's the correct way to be. That's justice. They understand people deserve this. In the case of the blindness, is it the result of an ideological deception or mystification? Revolutionaries often forget, or do not like to recognize, I think that one wants and makes revolution out of desire, not duty. Not wants. When they're talking about desire, they're talking about the passions, the force behind a person, the thrust of a person, their desire, the thing their drives, the thing driving them is what makes revolutions. Duty doesn't do it. Duty stops revolutions. You must do this. You owe it to the world to do this. This is the good sense, the common sense thing to fight for, which you hear people on the left say quite often. And the Democrats ran on this multiple times. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. That Trump never actually said you're doing your duty for America. He actually doesn't talk about things that way. That's not how he talks about it. He appeals to desire. Yep. Desire. Here as elsewhere, the concept of ideology is an execrable concept. They hate ideology as an idea. It's a shitty, fucking gross, awful, damnable concept that has ruined people. They hate it. In ideology, it hides real problems, which are always of an organizational nature. It's always organizational. The very moment Reich is a pretty wonderful, actually, psychoanalyst who did a lot of really good work. Reich came out of World War II. He lived through it in Germany. If you want to have a fucking life and a way to deal with it and think about it, I would say that's an interesting perspective to be able to have wanted to flee, to not be able to flee, and then to sort of watch. And he always said, hey, wait, why did Germany become Nazis? Why did Austria, why did so many, why? And when people said, well, ideology, which was the answer at the time, it's a very Hegelian, Lacanian thing. Marx, too. Like, ideology is very Marxy. That doesn't... So they were tricked. It's just a deeply unsatisfying answer to him. He always said it was deeply unsatisfying because it wasn't that they were tricked and they wanted freedom. They desired fascism. And that was his question that really is the reason Anti-Oedipus got written. It raised the most profound of questions. Why did the masses desire fascism? But Reich was content to answer by invoking the ideological, subjective, and irrational, negative, inhibited desire, because he remained the prisoner of derived concepts that made him fall short of the materialist psychiatry he dreamed of, that prevented him from seeing that desire is part of the infrastructure, that confined him to a duality of objective and subjective. The social world, that's an objective thing. How I feel or what I'm doing is subjective. That dichotomy creates a split. Reich tarried with that in his own way, not successfully. D&G, they break it. They go, well, actually, there's no difference. There's no such thing as objective and subjective. It's not how it works. They say, but everything is objective or subjective as one wishes. That's not the distinction. The distinction to be made passes into the economic infrastructure itself and into its investments. Libidinal economy, how the drives and desire and passions move through things and create things and the force of it, is no less objective than political economy. The political, no less subjective than the libidinal, even though the two correspond to two different modes of different investments of the same reality as social reality. There is an unconscious libidinal investment of desire that does not necessarily coincide with the preconscious investments of interest. And that explains how the latter can be perturbed and perverted in the most somber organization, below all ideology. It isn't just that I see myself represented. It's that the thing that is doing the representing, the system, is actually coursing with the forces and drives that seemingly seem subjective, that are me, that are you. You're in the system. You aren't some subject standing outside of it, any more than your mind is different than your body. Just as your mind and your body and all of that, there's no dichotomy there. There's no separation. There's no separation of you and the social. You are the social. Man, nature, it's all natural. There's no difference. These categories themselves create the problem. And the idea of the objective social space that we can see and that is ideologically based, and that's why you're tricked, versus the personal. No, there's no separation. You are creating the social. The social is creating you. It's happening actively. We're moving a little bit down. I'm not going to read some of this paragraph because it's very focused on a handful of things. And again, I'm trying to avoid jargon. But we're going down here. As Klosowski. It's the as Klosowski says, which is, why am I not able to write on this? We'll go here. There we go. This should work. Good. And we go boop. And let's go a little bit more yellow. Good. We're going to go right here. It's Klosowski. That actually is not what I wanted to do at all. That's terrible. That didn't mark it up at all. That is awful. Okay, let's see if I can do it this way. There, I'll scratch this out, and we're going to go right here. That's not working either. Goddamn thing. Why is that? It's all fucked up. That's okay. That is fine, Brooks. I'll deal with it. All right. As Klosowski says, in his profound commentary on Nietzsche, be ready, we're going to be doing Klosowski reading of Nietzsche and the Vicious Circle in the coming weeks. A form of power is identical with the violence it exerts by its very absurdity, but it can exert this violence only by assigning itself aims and meanings in which even the most enslaved elements participate. This is one of the most profound statements to come out of Klosowski, and to me, one of the most important things to consider during this time. I'm going to read it again, and we'll go through it little bit by little bit. As Klosowski says, a form of power is identical with the violence it exerts by its very absurdity, but it can exert this violence only by assigning itself aims and meanings in which even the most enslaved elements participate. The quote here is from the work, and we'll just say it real quick. The sovereign formations, the social spaces, sovereign formations, control power formations, will have no other purpose than that of masking the absence of a purpose or a meaning of their sovereignty by means of the organic purpose of their creation. We just watched this rich guy talk about how real wealth, getting that, is only step one. Step two is making yourself disappear. Sovereign formations have no other purpose than that of masking the absence of a purpose or a meaning of their sovereignty by means of the organic purpose of their creation, and the purpose of thereby converting the absurdity into spirituality. Literally what mega is. This is literally just mega, by the way, just in case you're not following that. That is why it is so futile to attempt to distinguish what is rational and irrational in society. To be sure, the role, the place, the part one has in a society, and from which one inherits in terms of the laws a social reproduction, impel the libido to invest a given socius as full body. Jargon. Let me restate it. This is a call to people, and you can think of any person this way. The role, the place, and the part one has in society, from which one inherits in terms of the laws of social reproduction, that from which one finds themselves reproduced, from one where we find production socially, not in production in terms of like pure work, that entirety of production that is social. It impels the libido. It impels the part of you that's the passions. This thing impels you. It pushes the desire itself to invest in that social space, to invest in the strata of the social world as if it was a thing. It's not, but as if it was a full body that has all the organs, all the pieces, invest it fully. A given absurd power in which we participate or have the chance to participate under the covers of aims and interests. You ever wonder why Trump's people like just get fucking in line? Right? You notice a lot of Republicans talk about, oh, it's a big, beautiful bill. I'm not going to vote for it because it fucks the deficit up. How you doing? I voted for it. It was like 2 hours. They went 2 hours. Because it's not that they're tricked. That's not it. It's not that they're tricked. The aims and interests aren't the thing. That's the cover. That's the story. That's the way they're communicating it. That's not the thing. The way that it works, the way the social machine actually goes back and forth, that thing they're directly invested in. That's the deal. They're directly invested in it. Body and soul. They're directly invested. How they describe it and how they talk about it are the aims and interests that sort of lay on top. They're the cover of it. The fact remains that there exists a disinterested love of the social machine, of the form of power, and of the degree of development in and for themselves. Even in the person who has an interest and loves them besides with a form of love other than that of his interest. It's also the case of the person who has no interest, who substitutes the force of a strange love for this counter-investment. Flux that run on the porous full body of the socius, these are the objects of desire. Oh, how beautiful the machine is, the officer of In the Penal Colony demonstrates. Read Kafka. Penal Colony. I think of a horrifying... think of CCOT. And let's say in the Penal Colony, they have a machine. This machine is very carefully calibrated to extract exactly the right amount of punishment to actually work against and sort of redeem the person that it ultimately kills. It sounds insane. It's a story told over and over and over, and it sounds absurd to the outside. To this outsider, is like, what the fuck? It seems brutal and it's awful. And so they get rid of it. They decide, oh, we're going to get rid of the machine. Well, the officer in the penal colony, the guy who's been doing it, believes in it so much, he proves it by jumping in, puts himself in the machine, and it kills him. It kills him in a really, really brutal, awful way. And he demonstrates what an intense libido investment of a machine can be. A machine, not technical, only technical, but social, and through which desire desires its own repression. We all go through this. This is not a thing that is like, oh, just the Trumpers. All of us have to deal with this. Welcome to capitalism, modern day. Desire, the forces of what we do every day, they push towards normativity. They push towards their own repression because it's easier. It's easier because this is the investment into the space we live in. This is the space we live in. This is it. This is where we sit. And this is the challenge as we start talking about this, is like, how do we have this larger conversation? How do we put ourselves in a position to actually go, hey, as everything falls apart, as people no longer find themselves represented, and they won't. You're talking about 10% of the country. I would say a quarter of Republicans are going to find themselves in the worst situation possible, financially and otherwise, within the next 6 to 9 months. Usually Republicans are smarter than this. If you go back and you look at Bush, or you look at, Bush Jr. too, Bush Sr., or Trump's last term, you should wait until you're almost done with power. Because then the effect of the thing lands on the Democrats. So Republicans normally do this. They just destroy the fucking economy. They run up the deficit. They do. And then the Democrat is like, because they're, milquetoast liberals, they feel compelled to fix it. And they feel pressure. And as everything falls apart, everyone blames the Democrats. They didn't do that this time. They got greedy. And I think it's because they know that they're not going to have the fucking house inside of 18 months. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. A lot of stuff in the bill won't take effect till 2 years from now. There's a lot of stuff that takes effect immediately. And there's other stuff that takes effect in January. Now, most of the stuff that matters is still within Trump's presidency. That's all that matters to like shifting people. Quill's dipped. Hello, welcome. I've been watching my philosophy tube video on Nietzsche. That was a fucking stream. 7.5 hour stream. Someone gave me $20 to do philosophy tube, and then another person paid me $25. They bought the second video, and I was like, fuck it. Oh, that was the whole thing. I love that people are like, oh, that means you have a hate boner for her. It's like, no, I don't like watching or talking about people, but when someone is supposedly left wing and they make the commentary that she does, or when they do philosophy and it's as bad as she does, it's hard not to, especially with the size she is. I did a video critiquing ContraPoints, for God's sake. I don't give a fuck. And I just did one on Adam Magrusi. He's a fucking cooking guy. Like, I don't have a hate boner. You can just not suck. There's a lot of people who suck when they do this stuff. It's tough. You didn't think much at first to watch the vid myself, but your take on his work is very interesting. Oh, thank you. It plays into stuff I've been thinking deeply and experiencing myself. Just want to say thanks for being cool. I am happy to be cool. Most of my take for Nietzsche is built by Deleuze and Klosowski. So it is a unique take in itself. I do love Nietzsche. Do not get me wrong. But a lot of the way I talk about him now, I can't extricate Klosowski. I definitely can't extricate Klosowski now because this book has fucking ruined me. Nietzsche and the Vicious Circle. Nietzsche and the Vicious Circle. Or, sorry, I have to... it's my favorite cover. It's one of my favorite covers ever. Nietzsche et le cercle vicieux. But look at that. Look at that fucking cover. That's a Nietzsche. That's how you Nietzsche. If you're going to Nietzsche, that's a Nietzsche. Speaking of which, if you're a member and you've joined, you should have Nietzsche. I actually scanned this because it's my favorite Nietzsche image of all time. I love it. Yeah, this is my French reading copy too. That's good. That's good stuff right there. So, where am I going with this? At the end of it, the whole point of reading this, we're entering a place very specifically. You absolutely should be depressed and sad. Sorry, I'm not going to say otherwise. You should not be happy. That is not where we are. You should be reacting emotionally as you probably are reacting, with a fair bit of hopelessness and a what do we do from here? The answer to what we do from here is we build something that people can actually find themselves represented in. That's it. And when I say we, I don't mean me, I mean we, all of us. If you look at Mondani, and I see a lot of critique from non-left people. Anyone who says this, by the way, is not left. They're a right-wing ideologue asshole. What are you doing? He's just a guy. You think he's the savior of the movement? Ugh. It's like, oh yeah, well, you're a piece of shit because here's how it works. And Bernie said this the first time around and no one listened. It's not about one guy. It's about whether that guy can inspire people to get involved in politics. You need to get involved. If you care, if you feel bad about things, you can get involved. You do that by starting to do it. What does that mean? I don't know for you. I don't know you well enough. And I'm not going to give you prescriptive things of here are the 6 steps. I have a better idea. I've been doing politics for a while. I have a better idea of things. I'm chatting with a few people about doing stuff. You get involved in some way. Look around, find something to do that is political. Move the needle slightly. All it takes is enough people doing that. That's it. That's it. And over the next 2 years, as we head into the midterm elections, we are going to find ourselves in a place where so much of this country is going to be broken that things are going to be so bad that pitchforks will be coming if we don't figure out an alternative. My. That looks like, is that rupees? That looks like rupees. I hate the fucking font that they use. Well, thank you very much, by the way, for the rupees. 40, so that's 4 red rupees, right? Sorry, Zelda joke, apologies. Thank you very much for the rupees. I have read Rawls. I don't believe in his conception of freedom or fairness. I have a lot of issues with anyone who sort of believes that these things can come from a state. I am at heart anarchist, but I'm also don't believe in anarchism in a traditional sense. I think the idea that, oh yeah, let's have a revolution and get rid of the state is like, that's not the thing I like about Anti-Oedipus. And it's the first time that this has happened. It's the thing that has rung true for me. And the more I read, the more it lands for me is if people are produced by their material conditions, which they are, I have no reason to believe otherwise. You're free to try to convince me. Send me books. If people are made by their material conditions, then it doesn't matter what we do on the other side of that, because the material conditions are going to determine what happens. And if we haven't shifted material conditions of people enough, if they're going to sit and be afraid, if they're going to be scared, if they're in a place where they deal with insecurity on a daily, and then the next day we ask them what we want to do, their answer is not going to be healthy. Their answer is not going to be good. It's not going to be happy for anyone. The need for us, if we want to move things forward, is to build a modicum or a base layer of a foundational set that people can be comfortable. All people, not just Americans, humans. If we can get to a critical mass of people who are able to take a moment and think politically, that's a different beast. But they won't do that. Not right now. So our job needs to be creating the space for that foundation. It's one of the things I fully stand differently with. Oh, not theory of justice? Well, I mean, look, aren't you in the QC? Join the queue. Hey, how you doing? If you feel like what I'm doing is interesting and you want to learn more, feel free to join our Discord, discord.gg/DGQC, like Goddard should be doing, and going into the QC and then adding me and adding a PDF of the thing he wants me to look at or have conversation with, creating a thread and saying, hey, Brooks, or one of the many other people we have in there who do really interesting work and who are really versed in a lot of really fantastic philosophers, even if it's minor. Someone was in there earlier today talking about Derrida and difference, which isn't really a thing because Derrida's différance is not the same thing as difference. Deleuze's difference, which is this sort of an ontological metaphysical thing, Derrida's différance is not. These are weird things. We're the place for those weird little pedantic things because that's what philosophy is, creation of concepts and playing with that. I am happy that you can join us. Please, Goddard, please toss that in there as a thing. Secondarily, if you like what I do and you want to support it, Super Chats is always good. I love every rupee I can get. Memberships, also great. Gifting memberships, even better. I see a lot of gray names in there. And I think I've made too many mods, or my mods are just very, very chatty. My mods are super chatty. Membership's great. Gives you a bunch of emojis, and you get to watch videos like 5 hours early because I don't like doing paywall content. Of course, if you can, go to Patreon, patreon.com/DGQC. $2, $3, $4, $5 a month from any one of you is amazing. And just, and some of you are, thank you. Thank you for the 9 months of supporting machines. It's appreciated. I wanted to sort of talk through, and I'm not sure if I actually really want to do it at this point. When we talk about the transformation of the Senate bill to Congress, there's actually a lot of stuff that's shifted. And I have notes. These aren't pretty notes, so I'm not going to be sharing my screen, but we're going to talk through, and I've kind of a graphic for it, so you're just going to have to pay attention. Maybe I'll figure out a thing if we get to the point where it's too much. If you don't know how American lawmaking works, usually it doesn't. But if it does, Congress spends a long time. They're the primary part of the legislative branch. Their job is to write the law out, and they tend to write huge, ridiculous bills. We have this fucked up situation we're in right now where our houses, the House of Congress, thank you for joining. Hey, welcome. Welcome, Paul. Glad I could impress upon you to join. We're basically a split country. And when I say split, I mean like almost 50-50. Silly close across the board, even in the House, not just the Senate. The House has a lot more people. The challenge is that to pass most laws, you need like basically not even a supermajority, but a plurality. In the Senate, for example, you need 60 votes, not just 50. And so because of that, like nothing gets passed ever. unless it's like a silly resolution or some other dumb shit, very few bills actually get passed. However, they made this weird rule in order to enable Congress to approve budgets, because they're the ones who control the purse strings. The president can't spend money without authorization. And if money's coming due and Congress hasn't authorized it, the party that's not in power could basically bankrupt the country and destroy it, which Republicans have threatened to do over and over and over and over again. So they have this thing called reconciliation. So if the House passes laws one time a year, they get to do what's called budget reconciliation, where they sort of, through this process, they add things in, and as long as it's budget related, like approving, and it's not like changing laws fundamentally, and this is a very gray area. Generally, this is the idea. You only need a majority. You need 50 plus 1%. Or in the case of the Republicans, as they had, you need 50 votes and the vice president to tie break. So Congress, not Senate, the Congress, House gets together. They write this ridiculous omnibus bill. It's huge. It has so much shit in it. When it went to the Senate, it's hard. Like, it wasn't possible to talk about everything in it. And the person who decides whether or not a thing is part of that budget or part of reconciliation or allowed as part of it, that person, the parliamentarian, I think everyone assumed they're just going to rubber stamp and send on. And so I was combing through the bill and reading, and there's a lot of opaque language and weird stuff. There was a lot of things, but it turns out that the parliamentarian never got replaced and is a Democrat and can only do so much because they're, liberals are big on the fucking law. So rather than take out everything that they could, they took out stuff that they said didn't really apply. And then what got sent back and what Congress passed is the reaffirmed bill, because basically Congress has to pass it, then the Senate has to pass it, and then Congress has to accept the bill as is, no changes, or begin the process of making changes and send it back again, which can take weeks, long time. So when it got sent back down, this process had taken place, and our friends in Congress who had said all of these things and done all of this shit, I'm not going to vote for it, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. They all got in line. They voted for it because they're cucks. They're all cucks. Republicans are cucks and losers. They got merch. I'm not joking. We can look at some of the images later. Trump sent them merch. They're losers. Every Republican's a loser. But what's really interesting is that parliamentarian completely fucked up this bill. Completely changed the bill. Like, fundamentally changed a lot of things in it. And they changed a lot of stuff that was happening on the other side. So, for example, Lisa Murkowski, who is a huge piece of shit out of Alaska. Huge piece of shit in the sack of a human. She said that she wouldn't vote for the bill. And so they actually included language, which is Alaska, that the Medicare cuts and Medicaid cuts wouldn't affect Alaska. They literally carved it out for her. They carved it out for her. And so she went, oh, okay, I'm in. And then the parliamentarian took it out. And she voted for it anyway, because she's a bitch. They're all bitches. They're all bitches. But I want to talk about the things that I have a few things that I found that got shifted out, and it's worth noting because the way that they set it up is very different. So up front, as I have it written down, it's HR 1. If you want to go look at it, I'm not going to link to it, and we're not pulling it up. It is a text document that makes Anti-Oedipus seem like a summary. It's fucking terrible. But the House version had $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, offset by $1.7 trillion in spending reductions, which netted, again, the House that passed it the first time, the guys who were like, I loved it, was a net $2.8 trillion deficit increase over 10 years. It's like adding $3 trillion to the debt was what they set up to do. But then they sent it over. And as part of the cuts, and again, maybe I don't need to go through all of them, but the House was going to basically completely cut Medicaid, $930 billion in cuts, SNAP, $267 billion in reductions, and federal workforce benefits by $90 billion, cutting retirement benefits for the federal workforce. These guys are ghouls. And they did that to expand the SALT tax. Cocksuckers. All of them. If you voted for them, and if you're Republican, you're a piece of shit. Sorry. Makes you bad. Makes you really bad. Adding SALT deductions of $40,000 per household by cutting $267 billion in SNAP, food stamp programs for poor people and children, you're a piece of shit. All those cuts. Parliamentarian came along and went, hey, wait a second. Actually, we can't do a lot of these. And so they originally were cutting almost $6.5 billion from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That didn't get cut. That's not in the bill that got passed. So which is like confusing to me. Like as a thing, hey, thank you very much. No rupees? Well, Aussie money is, Aussie money. I don't know. It's okay. That's okay. Thank you for the two Australian. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau didn't get defunded, which is weird to me that got cut out. I saw it, and we'll watch it in just a second, which is crazy. The $267 billion in SNAP cuts, that's not happening. That's not in here, right? Fucking crazy. There's a lot of changes. I'm not even going to touch the surface, but like this is already like crazy and confusing to me. The federal worker benefit change I talked about, that didn't happen. And like 1.5 trillion in spending cuts was reduced to 4 billion over 10 years. So, okay, so the spending cuts, like this is how fucked up this bill is going to make our country. This is actually like, I'm not saying theirs was a good bill, but it's like they got the worst of the both worlds. I don't know how else to put it. It's the worst of both worlds. Not only did they get all of the tax breaks, which is insane, but they got none of the spending cuts. I want to say it's like 99.9% of all the spending cuts were taken out. Right? Right? Weird, right? At least as, again, this is how I went through it. I'm seeing other people say the same thing. This is not just me, but basically it completely fucked all of those things. The Senate version eliminated the idea of fiscal responsibility and cutbacks. The White House is trying to do it through spending cuts, which is fucking illegal and insane. Basically saying, well, we're just not going to spend the money we're allotted. But it's still spent, so it doesn't matter. Still comes out of somewhere. Still bonds have to be issued. Still treasury bonds have to be, like, this money's still there. They're acting like they're not spending it. So Trump is like running up the most insane deficit that could ever happen and got none of those cuts that he was talking about. There's an insane set of this that's like, what the fuck? But there's a second part that it took me a while to understand. It took me a while to understand fundamentally. So as tax cuts happen, let me see if I have this written. I have a source on this that's like very confusing. This is the worst. Oh, I hate this article title. I forgot this was. I am not at fault for how bad. I didn't remember this is the article title. I almost don't want to even now talk about this anymore. This ruined me. Motherfuckers. When you see this, you'll understand, I think. Nope, not that one. And there and boom. Someone should be embarrassed. The 2025 tax debate. So, all about that base. Someone should be put down. Someone should be put down. That is you should be put down. That was written this year. So, here's the thing. Current policy baseline. This is nerd shit. Enjoy. This is important. What is baseline? In the legislative context, a baseline is a set of budgetary and economic projections against which Congress measures the impact of new legislation. The standard baseline is set annually by the CBO, a congressionally established nonpartisan agency that serves lawmakers and staff of both parties. A baseline is a forecast, not a crystal ball. CBO experts are the first to acknowledge their projections and estimates aren't always correct. The agency regularly publishes reports on the accuracy, blah, blah, blah. Why do baselines matter? They have significant impact on the legislative process by 1. Providing policymakers and legislative and executive branches with valuable information about trends and serving as a yardstick against which future legislation, blah, blah, blah. Under the current law baseline, the CBO estimates spending and revenue trends based on laws enacted through an applicable date. This is the baseline that CBO is required to use when presenting a budget projection to Congress. For example, Congress passes a tax cut valued at $10 billion per year starting in 2025, schedules it to expire in 2030. Under current law baseline, the tax cut would be scored as follows. $10 billion, $10 billion, $10 billion, expires and becomes zero. 10-year cost, $50 billion. 10 years is how the baseline runs. Makes sense? This is how this works. So the Senate changed, the Republicans changed how baseline operates, which is a lot. Specifically, what they did is they changed it so that the expiring tax cuts will continue indefinitely. Okay? Basically, they legally changed how the accounting of this works. And what it does is it actually masks $3.5 trillion in costs that are coming. So what it does is it basically creates a cover for deficit Republicans who are going to get really shit on a lot because it hides it by changing how this stuff is calculated. This is a big deal. Why is this a big deal? Well, Medicare, which isn't actually in the bill. Trump said he's not touching Medicare. Republicans promised that they're not touching. They talked about how they're not touching Medicare. Medicare, let me see if I can find an article on this, is actually being cut. Yay. Because it's really hard to talk about because there is nothing in the law that says Medicare will be cut. Medicaid, don't care. Come on, get me to Medicare. Okay. According to CBO, absent future congressional action, the bill will trigger just by existing. It's not in there. Because of how this is being done at baseline and how these taxes are being put together, it's going to trigger, it isn't written in there, it will trigger $490 billion in cuts over the next 7 years because there is a statutory law that Democrats and Republicans worked together. Pelosi, called PAYGO, which basically forces everything to sort of balance out, which means Medicare is actually going to be cut by bureaucratic secondary things than by Republican fiat on its face. Does that make sense? Yes, yeah, sheep with shotguns, you're right. I'm speaking slowly, but here's the thing. PAYGO is affected by baseline and how the baseline is collected. This is how fucked up this whole thing is. they could have left things the same, and Medicare may or may not have been affected in the same way. But because the language of the law changes how all this works, PAYGO is affected and impacted, and now we're going to lose $90 billion a year in Medicare. No, you're free to pre-watch. This is one of those things that Trump voters, by and large, are old white people. All of them are on Medicare, and they're all very happy with Medicare, by the way, even as Trump is gutting it thanks to RFK and all that other shit. Wait, Democrats literally 100% voted against the bill in every capacity. And they did everything they could to stop it. They actually did. They could have, there may be some other nuclear options they could have pulled, but it's debatable. They 100% voted against every step of the way. I don't think there's a Democrat that voted for it. In the House, there was none. And a couple of Republicans voted against it too. It's kind of a lot. Murkowski's fascinating. This fucking awful bitch. This was taken out, but not all of it. Murkowski voted for it. There's another thing in there that got taken out, but ultimately the SNAP stuff got taken out. She still has a, what was the wording around it? $50,000 tax write-off for whaling captains is in the bill. Yes. So yes, I am talking about a bill in 2025 that has a tax exemption for whaling captains, for AHAB. Hey, Jack is, I'm not going to pronounce that correctly, and I'm sorry. I apologize. I also welcome from Argentina. I didn't expect that. Welcome. I legit think they're using Argentina as a testing. Oh, well, there we go. As a testing ground for politics in the U.S. Most of what I see happening to you happened to us like 6 months before, not just bills, but even language in the media. Israel too. Like that's what these people do. The hard right and the Heritage Foundation and all these fucks, the Federalist Society, they've scattered themselves all over the world, and they've been testing this stuff everywhere, and they're refining it for sure. 100%. Very nice, Suresh. Everyone gets to now click on a funny picture. But whale captains, it's fucking awful human. Just awful. And then yeah, I mean, that's the big deal is they basically did this weird fucked up thing where all of the cuts to spending are gone, but all the tax cuts stayed. So it's like, what the fuck? So Tax Foundation, which I had as a thing, they're not a progressive group. They're the Tax Foundation. I mean, they're not a progressive group. Here is what they think will actually be the impact of one big beautiful bill. GDP will only be increased by just over 1%, which is not in keeping in line with inflation. The gross national product, not even 1%. But you see, these other things, pre-tax wages will not go up. None of this is good, which is crazy to me. But these things, 10-year conventional revenue estimate, actually it's going to lose a lot. Oh, it's going to drop a lot of revenue. Oh my God. Deficit increase in this $3 trillion, like out the gate. 10 years. What the fuck? These people are insane. I just have a bunch of links. Sorry, I'm just going through and seeing if I want to include any other things. Debt to GDP ratios rising to 128%, which is it's a lot. It's another 8-9% on top of things. Rick Sai, hey, thank you for sending so many lovely memberships. Who's getting them? Jake's, welcome. Godder, about goddamn time, you motherfucker. And Voxmer, welcome to the Quarantine Collective, all of you. Courtesy of Rick Sai. Appreciate it, Rick Sai. Isn't like 15% of the entire debt coming from one bill? Yeah, it's $3 trillion. Like, that's insane. It's insane. And again, that's only what's literally in the bill. There's a lot of stuff that comes on as knock-on effects from what they've done because of procedural nature of things. And that's where you start talking about, like, okay, for example, 11, one sec, I had the thing from the Brookings. Was it Brookings? Yeah, Brookings. 11 million people will be losing insurance coverage because of the changes to the ACA. 11 million people gone off of it. That's a huge number of people. It's insane. It's basically one of the largest pieces of health legislation since the ACA was put into place. Did you know that? No one did. No one even thought it was a health bill. It's insane. It's insane. Let's see. And GovTrack had the other bit of this, which I really, really liked. And you can go through and start looking at, like, oh, look, the vote chart, 51 to 50. And, that's because they had the one vote from Baby Vance. But if you actually go through, there's a really fascinating way that they started adding, like, all of these things. One sec. Where was it? There was a link I had on. It doesn't matter. Everyone who was, I'm not voting for it or slightly holding out, except for one who didn't. Good on the three that didn't. By the way, this is what you get for voting the way that you did in the last election. So good job, everyone who said not to vote. This is how this works. So it's important for us to create a political party and a direction that people can find themselves in. Because if you don't, this is what you get. You get people who don't vote for fucking anyone, or decide to vote against the Democrats, or vote only for president, or whatever else. That's it. If we had one seat, let alone the 3 or 4 that we actually lost in the Senate. Very horrifying. But every single one who was a holdout, all of them got shit straight away shoved in the most obviously blatantly corrupt way possible. Like Murkowski's $50,000 tax breaks for whaling ship captains. She's not alone. She's one of many. But they all got this shit like in the last 2 or 3 hours before the bill was voted on and sent out. It's like one of the most insanely corrupt processes. C-SPAN had people just furious because it's like all of these people know that this is going to destroy our country. Hey, wait, kid's here? I thought kid was streaming. Oh, that's what I get for not super paying attention. Welcome, kid, and all of your viewers. It's lovely to have you here. Welcome to have you, and thank you for the raid. I hope you had a lovely time. I know you didn't, because you're as happy as I am right now. But still, thanks for the raid. So, as you start adding to these things, the number of people who will also... So 11 million people are going to lose... Dottie girl? What's wrong, sweetheart? What's wrong? Come here. No? 11 million people are going to lose insurance. That's not people losing Medicare and Medicaid. But now Medicaid is going to have work requirements added to it. So all of those 11 million people are not going to be getting Medicaid. That donut, they talk about it as the donut hole. People who are too poor for insurance but too wealthy for Medicaid, they've obliterated that because now they have work requirements. They have work requirements, and they also defunded the administration of Medicaid. So it's a double whammy. So not only are there going to be fewer people actually working to put people on Medicaid, as 11 million people are needing it, which means there are going to be fewer people on it, they've also added more work for those fewer people. They're evil. They're bad people. They're bad people. They're bad people. They're bad people. They put in as a placebo, and you'll hear Republicans talking about this. They added in $25 billion for rural hospital support. It's a thing they added. That doesn't actually even cover 40% of what they cut. So and it also doesn't apply in the same ways. Huh? You like how they did that? Who's that? Another. Oh, those are finally coming up. Hey, Rexai, thank you for the gifting of memberships again. They're finally showing up. Why is that taking so long? Very interesting. Also, why is it that symbol? I didn't make that symbol. Sometimes adding nuance obfuscates the dire nature. Yeah, I mean, look, Republican voters, I don't necessarily think they're bad people. They're fucked. They're built of their material conditions. When there are actually 50 people, specifically 51 people we can point at, and any one of them had the ability to stop this, I think it's okay to call them out. Could they have stopped it themselves? Don't know. But this is like as gross as it gets. This whole thing is as gross as this shit gets. But it's a fair comment. Let's see. If you didn't see, Nebraska, Republican congressman who voted for it because he's a bitch, talked about this. And this is actually a really big deal. The way that the federal government invests in health, nutrition, and anti-poverty programs, a lot of states, because there is these new requirements for things, because again, the federal government doesn't exist just as an entity and they just wander around. The state takes money from the federal government. They get that money, Medicaid and other things, that they then apply. But they're requirements, and they take on some of that bureaucratic cost when they do this. But because there's added bureaucratic cost and reduced funds for it at the same time, there's actually a very good chance, and that's what this is talking about here, there is a good chance that entire states just stop opting into Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP because it overall creates too much cost. Think about that. States may actually not be able to afford to take money from the federal government for Medicaid. That's how this bill was written. That's why I say bad. Because again, there's a type of unique monster that I'm always fascinated with. And it's when people know that what they're saying could have impact or what they're doing could have impact. And instead of doing a thing boldly, let's say Jordan Peterson, he's a huge piece of shit, but I appreciate him because he's a lunatic who's kind of just honest about how shitty he is. He doesn't go, well, I'm not sure how men and women should treat each other. I just think he doesn't say it like that. He doesn't middle of the roads himself. He outright says, I believe that you should be hateful and kill everybody. He just says things. I can appreciate that. It's a different kind of monster. But there's a monster that, like these Congress people, write the rules in a way where you can't point at, they did this because the bureaucracy is going to be the one doing it. If they created a law outright that said states are not going to have any more Medicare or Medicaid. Yes, Medicare. Yes, Medicare. I know. But those things if they just went and said, hey, we're going to stop states from being able to take it, that you can attack, that you can comment on. That is them doing a thing that they believe in. They don't believe in this in any capacity because they're doing it and allowing these things to happen because they know the knock-on effects. They've been around. We all know the knock-on effects. We know how this has been. None of this is new to any of us. None of this is new to, like, these things have been around. It is evil in a Kafka-esque way. I'm very happy since I've been having this channel that Kafka-esque is a word I've been able to use correctly many times. It's kind of nice, but it's a fascinating setup. And let's see if we can. There's that, and we go boop.
You out front now.
All right, and I'm gonna pop up the Peter Mooney. Yeah, the states have nothing to do with Medicare. Well, here's the fun part. Okay, because everything's being cut in Medicare, $90 billion a year. The states aren't necessarily having more to do with Medicare, but as people don't get Medicare, they will necessarily have to rely on other programs. This is what I mean by there isn't anything directly in the bill about Medicare. Nothing. But if you wanted to destroy Medicare, well, what you would do is you would create an excessive budget shortfall in taxes that would force the government, starting in January, to immediately just automatically cut $90 billion a year off Medicare. And then, as that happens, you would gut the program that those people might be able to move to when Medicare can't support them anymore, Medicaid. And you would gut it in a way where you don't gut it, you do a bit, but you gut it by adding in bureaucracy, which means adding in cost. When you add in cost, the states, Nebraska, California, Washington, states take Medicaid money in order to offset their social programs. But if you make it so expensive that they can't, and now you don't have that at all, where do people go? Well, Medicare is not for younger people, not really. And the older people or the people who are in that donut hole from Medicare now don't have anywhere else to go. So it creates excessive strain on Medicare, which didn't get a bump, which is actually getting a cut. They know this. It's really fucked up. I mean, it's really frustrating to like talk about. And it just makes me out of my fucking mind upset. There you guys are. See, I'm reading, I'm watching. Here from, where is it? That's not what that one is. Where the fuck are you? Why aren't you showing my fucking windows, you fucking thing? Look at you guys. That's your chat. Enjoy yourselves. This is fucking confusing. Why is Chrome not showing up correctly?
Thank you. Out front now, Republican Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, thank you so much.
What the fuck? Something's broken. Why is this not? Sorry, 2 seconds. Oh, there it is. There we go. Oh, this fucking thing. It is a great quote. It is a great moment.
Yeah, we will be watching for that. Kristen Holmes, thank you. Out front.
Republicans don't know what they voted for and they don't care. They literally don't give a shit. And they're just awful. It's unbelievable. This clip is kind of all you need to know.
Right now, Republican Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us this evening. You voted yes on the House version of this bill. Where do you stand right now on this version the Senate sent over?
I'm firmly undecided. I've got a few more questions to answer. I'm concerned about the economic impact, of course, of this. I think the CBO, they do not take that into consideration, and that's something that I think is kind of greatly underutilized in their score because, oddly enough, if you release America's energy potential and remove a lot of the bureaucracy, you're going to see our economy grow.
No, none of that. Also, by the way, I do want to mention, they tried to strip all subsidies for electric vehicles and green energy. That got yoinked right the fuck out. So, I mean, it's kind of hilarious.
And of course, the tax credits that are there for business manufacturing, 100% write-offs, things like that. And in Tennessee, if we don't pass it, we're going to see over a $2,000 to $3,000 tax increase on families making $70,000 or less. So, of course, I'm leaning in the affirmative, but I'm just waiting out to hear just exactly everything. We've been breaking it down piece by piece.
So you're taking issue with the CBO estimate here?
Yes, ma'am, I do have an issue with it. The office is very partisan. I mean, 85% of the people in their healthcare division identify as a Democrat, or they've contributed to Democrats, or they're registered Democrats. They're leading, I believe their leading economist is that. We ought to do away with these organizations because we use them when we like them. We don't use them when we don't like them. And you've got a bunch of bureaucrats in here that are on a lifetime gravy train. And frankly, we've got independent agencies that can do that. We have people up here with accounting degrees that can do the math. So I feel like that is a waste of taxpayers' money.
So in January 2024, there was a Republican who trusted the CBO so much that they reintroduced a resolution to require the House clerk to read the CBO estimate of any bill. I believe that was you, sir, the third time you introduced that resolution. Is that right?
That's correct, ma'am. Of course, and that proves
But
just what I said.
you don't like the CBO
us,
now.
Ma'am?
But you don't like the CBO now. You introduced that resolution over multiple years, but now you're dissing the CBO.
Did the bill pass?
Your resolution?
Did the bill pass? Yes, ma'am.
You introduced it, sir.
I know
It's
it, ma'am,
irrelevant.
but did it pass? They never pass because nobody wants any verification. It proves my point. When it serves us well,
you took a stance and you were
we're for it, but when it doesn't, we don't. So
you're clear about where you are
like,
on the CBO. I just want to say, but just to get to where you said earlier that you were closer to voting yes after speaking with the president. I saw the vice president sent you put a nice tweet up that you responded to. What did the president say to you that made you feel maybe closer to voting yes?
So the CBO is the Congressional Budget Office. They are a nonpartisan, generally pretty decent org. I mean, people have gripes, but they're generally pretty decent org that like goes through and says, here's what it's going to cost. Here's what the thing's doing, because the world has a right to know what is in a bill and what it's going to do. And the federal groups and advisors and congresspeople, there needs to be an impartial group. That's the idea. And he did. He wanted to push this idea that every year, he pushed it, that the CBO should actually be reading out not just the bill, but its impact, because he trusted it so much. But did it pass? Did it pass? You introduced so the CBO is terrible and should be disbanded, but like he's just, that they don't have a soul. Like they don't have a center. They don't have an understanding. He doesn't care. He is cuck. He's a cuck. That's it. There's no other thing here. He is a cuck. He's getting off, sitting in the corner, and watching America on the bed with someone from the internet who called, who he likes seeing go to town on America. He is very corner chair energy.
Yes.
He talked about the economic output that we would have that was not in the CBO scores. And along those lines, he talked about other things that I'm not going to share, but because it was in privacy. But I think there's a lot of things that would probably be.
Hey, what did the president say to you to make you change your mind? I won't tell you is awesome.
Revealed when this is passed, and I think America will embrace it further. I think, again, once you do some things like straighten up Medicaid and Medicare, and you dispute a lot of the lies that are in the media about people getting kicked off, I think America understands what we're up against in this. We're up against people want to call it the swamp up here, but it's really just a sewer. It's a man-made thing that it doesn't produce anything, and it fights us every step of the way.
Yep. When they're in charge, they're not in charge. Again, they like being the cuck. They like that. And that's, they can't see it. They are actually, no, and it's not even Trump. Trump also is a cuck. None of them are doing the fucking. They're all cucks, all of them. Because they aren't actually, again, they get the dividends, but they're not actually doing the fucking. He doesn't have $300 billion in wealth sitting around. Not even close.
And so I think once you allow Americans to get out and work and actually force those to work and get them off the couch that some of them are on, that are in the illegals and folks that are gaming the system, I think you're going to see that this country will bust wide open economically, and I think that's going to be a great thing for this country.
Well, the CBO, which you put so much trust in for years and years that you passed a resolution wanting estimates read before bills, is very clear.
And remember, this is the guy who constantly called Vice President Harris the DEI hire of the White House. This is who that is. This is that energy. This is that energy.
About how
Yes,
many
ma'am.
people are going to be kicked off of health care until you were against the CBO.
No, ma'am. You listen. If you want to do the editorial, just go ahead, and you don't need me on here. But the
These
CBO,
are facts, sir. I don't have to editorialize.
Scores.
Is very clear about how
Yes,
many
ma'am.
people are going to
this country.
Well, the CBO, which you put so much trust in for years and years that you passed a resolution wanting estimates read before bills, is very clear about how
Yes,
many
ma'am.
people are going to be kicked off of health care until you were against the CBO.
No, ma'am. You listen. If you want to do the editorial, just go ahead, and you don't need me on here. But the
These
CBO,
are facts, sir. I don't have to editorialize.
Scores. I would like to see what the economic output of every bill. You as a taxpayer should want that too. And the CBO is the only organization we have.
It's fucking insane. He's out of his mind. But he is. I'm connected to school shootings, so I tend to remember these things. You guys remember there's a school shooting, and the state senator said, I think senator, representative, maybe, said, yeah, we ain't going to fix it. Criminals going to be criminals. That was his response to a major school shooting in his town in Nashville. We ain't gonna fix it was actually how he opened his statement. We ain't gonna fix it.
If I could allow a private accounting firm to do it, I would much rather that happen. But the reality is it would have to be the CBO. And what do you have against knowing how much each bill is spent? Why does the media oppose to that? Why do you all on the left always fight every chance at America knowing what's going on? The problem y'all have with this bill, ma'am, is that it gets government out of our way and lets Americans make some decisions, and maybe hardworking Americans would have a better choice and a better shot at life in this country without you all just telling us how bad things are going and trying to construct, and as you're doing with me, trying to dictate what I've said. And
he's fucking awful.
the reality is the CBO is a partisan organization, and the reality is America has a right to know how much we're spending on every piece of legislation. I cannot believe you as a member of the media would not want open records, and that is exactly what that bill would do.
Sir, we have reported on what is in this bill. We do that time and again.
Ma'am, you all are trying to scare, are you talking about the big beautiful bill? You all just try to scare America by telling millions of people are going to be cut off this thing. You're talking about the people that are on it illegally, that are gaming the system, and that is. And
no, we're not. The
CBO
is very clear.
The bill does not do anything of what you've said, and all you've done is scare America, and you're not doing a service to this country, ma'am. And you all.
By the way, all of this shit is going to happen really bad within the next 2 years. Like, this stuff is not way off.
Ought to start talking. You want to talk about transparency, and then there you are attacking me on a bill where I'm trying to make it transparent how much we're spending on each piece of legislation. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
You wanted to have the CBO estimate, and you're now railing
because
against
that is
CBO
the only
estimates.
organization. That is the only organization at our disposal to do that.
Good enough for you, and we are reporting on it. Congressman Tim Burchett, thank you so much for being.
It is a fucking monster. What a loser. Like, it's the terrible human beings. These people are just the fucking worst. Let me see if I can find, one sec, I want to find that. I want to see if I can find that quote of him with so you can see how awful this person is. He had a story about his daddy. Yeah, this will be it. This is, I believe this is the quote. I mean, we'll find out.
Any sense, based on your reporting, based on your conversations, that given the nature of this tragedy, given that we are talking about 9-year-olds who lost their lives in yet another mass shooting?
Nice. Just really sit with that for a second. You guys outside of America don't are hopefully still horrified. We're very bored of this. 9-year-olds dying in mass shootings.
Is there any sense that this time is different, Ryan?
You know, in many ways, Kristen, it feels like a rinse and repeat situation here. You know, I've been on Capitol Hill after many of these mass shootings, very similar to this one in Nashville, and we generally get the same response from lawmakers from both sides of the Hill. And one of those lawmakers I caught up with is Congressman Tim Burchett, who represents Knoxville, that's Tennessee, you know, a little ways away from Nashville, but in the same state. And I think he really crystallized, you know, the Republican view of whether or not gun control legislation is worth it. Take a listen.
Legislate evil, and it's just not going to happen. We've got evil in this country, and everybody just needs to tone down the rhetoric a little bit, because all that does is gin it up in both sides, and then they point the finger and nothing happens. Because if you think Washington's going to fix this problem, you're wrong. They're not going to fix this problem. They are the problem.
It doesn't concern you that other countries don't have this level of gun violence?
Other countries don't have our freedom either.
So you kind of...
Oh, he is the thing. I mean, come on. They don't have this level of shooting. They also don't have our level of freedom. He actually just said the thing. He just says it. It's great. I adore it. One sec. I'm trying to find my white nail polish. One moment. I know I have a couple whites. Oh, that's dried out, I think. That is not pure white. Come on. All right, I know where that is then. One sec. One sec. I have to send a text to Heather. Hey, Heather. Can you ask Dexter if the nail polish store has any white nail polish for me to buy? My son opened stores in his room of my shit. He has a store of my shit upstairs. So it is adorable, but it's adorable until you're like, oh, yeah. Where's my stuff? I don't know. And he does not price gouge because he doesn't charge money, because he doesn't understand the concept yet fully. So like, I'll go up and he'll go, it's 50 cents. My shit. And I go, oh wow, I don't have any money. Can I borrow from you? And he lets me borrow 50 cents to pay him. And then I buy it. And I have been borrowing 50 cents to buy all my shit back for a long time. He is, in theory, made some very good money. Given how debt works. I'm not sure he's actually making that money. We'll see. It's fun. I know. Look, I'm teaching him how capitalism works. Those in charge borrow money and he gets nothing out of it. No, it's because I'm not in the mood to teach him money yet. And I don't want him stealing. We started down the road when we had the tooth fairy. The first thing he did when he got tooth fairy money is he hid it because he wanted to keep it forever because it was pretty. And then he forgot where it was. So that's a journey. You're convinced the movie Society is not metaphorical. Anyone who doesn't know the movie Society, 1, go see it. And 2, do not look it up. Do not look it up. It'll ruin the movie for you. Just know it's a commentary on high society, and it's excellent. Thank you, Moth, for the $5. It is an excellent film. Society is wonderful. I should do another night of recommendations in films. That would be probably smart in some capacity for me to do. That stuff seems to be popular, in theory at least. I think I'm going to do red outside, red, blue, white in the middle, or should be red, white with blue in the middle. I think blue in the middle probably. Yeah, and no spoilers about Society in chat. Thank you, Insomnia. We will just see it, and then you won't want to spoil it either. If you do spoil it, you're banned. My house GDP is skyrocketing. Yeah. As I tell the story because it's my favorite. I like a good pun and a joke. And my kid, when he was 4, came up with a better pun than I will ever do, and I find it depressing. I hope his life continues, but I own a Jeep. If you own a Jeep, Duck Duck Jeep is a thing. Just if you don't know, Duck Duck Jeep is a thing. It's weird, but it's a thing.
Well, Jeep owners are bringing smiles to each other's faces, and it comes in the form of a child's bath toy.
Yeah, this trend is now nearly 3 years old, but tonight our Brad Underwood shares the
way older than 3 years old. I've been doing Duck Duck Jeep for like 5-6 years now.
Inside joke among all those Jeep owners out there with all of us outsiders.
If you ever see a Jeep that has rubber ducks on it, in any capacity, I have a bunch of my Jeep, and other people have theirs, and you kind of hide it and sit. They have ducks in them because, hey, look, it's going to sound awful because it seems it. I will just say it's a Jeep thing. It's weird. Jeep ownership is a strange thing, amongst people who actually use their Jeeps generally. And it's a very strange thing, but you go out and you'll find a little duck on your fucking side mirror or on your hood. And now you've got a new duck. You put it inside. Well, my kid fucking loved this. And so I bought a bunch of ducks. I'm going to let this play in the background so you can kind of see the ducks and what we mean. What the duck, that is a perfectly fine local headline. You will see this on this is what they look like. I have someone made Jeep rubber ducks. They're in the shape of Jeeps. They're the best. My son did not like that I was giving away ducks. So he would take them and hide them as we would get out of the car, put them in his pocket or whatever. And this is when he started his store selling ducks. I don't know how he came up with the name, but when I went upstairs, I was like, are these my rubber ducks? He said, no, they're products. I don't even know how to even say how good of a fucking pun product is. That's okay. That's okay. I found the white one. It's okay. Did Dexter find any others for me? I found the white one. It's okay, Dexy. I don't know. I thought you still had a nail polish for it. Is it gone? Okay. I don't know where it is. We'll figure it out. What are you guys burping about? What'd you eat? You ate ice cream? Very nice. All right, upstairs. Go. Upstairs. I'm still on stream. Go upstairs. Go. Do you want to give a hi, Dexter?
Oh, hot.
Let's go next.
There you go. So yeah, product. I don't think it's possible to have a better pun. That's it. So now, the other reason I like the Duck Duck Jeep thing, and it's been really good for him, is one of the hardest things to teach children properly. And I don't even know if we're doing it, but as a parent, you'll run into this. Giving things. It's tough. You may not remember when you first learned to give someone else one of your things. Not for a moment, but like not have it anymore. I'm a big believer in this. I actually enjoy the process of giving. I think it's important. And not the process of loaning, the process of giving. And understanding you're giving someone else a thing that you value in order to brighten their life. And granted, they're fucking rubber ducks. I'm not changing anyone's life, but it's a small version of that. And it's been very good for him to see what that's like. Because we started and it was like, he didn't want to give away any of the cool. He's like, that one's okay to give it. Like, you can put it up. We put it up. And then we happened to one time do that. And the guy was coming back and, with his girlfriend, and they were like, oh my God. Then they made a huge deal and he was like, oh. And that changed it for him. He was like, okay, can I do the next one? And he was excited about it. And he started giving away his cool ones. And then he started seeing that on occasion he'd get a really cool one back, or he'd find one. And this really interesting process of like understanding how to deal with other people, I consider it a big fucking deal. It's nice. So yeah, the ducks are everywhere, and you will see Jeeps covered in them. This is more, or I have that duck. Dexter has that duck right there in the back seat right now of my car. That the spotted blue and pearl. I literally have that one. That might be mine. This is from a few years ago. I have a strawberry duck. Dexter has a strawberry duck. There are so many of these. Jeeps are weird. It's a weird thing. And it's shitty. But it's good for Dexter. He got a chance to like experience it that way. He got a chance to give away. And it was like really interesting. It's kind of like trading cards, but it's trading cards that you may never get back from the person. You're literally trying to make them smile. That's it. It's like you put they may not have any, and it's the most fun when they don't have one on their thing. You put it there. Some people, one of the first one I got was years ago, and it was a traditional rubber duck, and it had a note on it with a hashtag DuckDuckJeep. Do you remember when Twitter was Twitter and the world wasn't a nightmare? The before times, the long, long ago. Do you remember the long, long ago, the before times? The hashtag is when I learned about it, and someone started this by doing that. And I was like, what the fuck? So I took a photo of it because Twitter was interesting at one point. I know you kids don't understand. Twitter was actually interesting at one point and useful. You have no idea. Trust me, you have no idea. So it's really strange to like have this thing go back and forth, and you kind of see them circulating, and it's really fun. It's really fun. He likes it a lot. Florida sucks. It does. Says, that's a username. It would be incredibly useful to have something I could send to someone to explain to them some of the issues or all of them. I love a lot of the creeks I've been doing lately. It's one, you can clip this stream. Right now, I haven't been able to find like a single piece because again, it's a huge build that does a lot of things, but it's difficult to explain because a lot of the most dangerous stuff it does is not actually in it. It's because of how they pass certain procedural things alongside it that changes how budgetary work works. If that makes sense. And so as such, you're like 4 or 5 steps removed from any of it. I think Majority Report had a piece on it earlier today that I kind of wanted to watch, and so maybe we can actually glean something from that. I love a good Sam moment. Let's see. Yeah, all of these people are just fucking the worst. But I think it's going to be yeah, they haven't done it. Literally, it passed today. I don't think anyone expected it to pass as it was. I think it's actually a surprise. And so I think a lot of people are doing work right now, digging like what I just kind of went through, but in detail. I didn't even come close to everything. I don't have the time. But people who do this for a living, they will. And they will spend the time, and it will be a big deal to them that they do this correctly. And I think it's important that we do it correctly. I think it's, as we talk about and as we have these conversations, people know what's coming and what's going on. And these people don't have anything. They don't have anything.
Calling all the Freedom Caucus people. Meanwhile, they are circulating a memo. On some level, there's really, I don't know, low-income Alaskans are, or I should say low-income Iowans are just as deserving of food assistance as low-income Alaskans. But here she is, and she doesn't seem to like the question.
Out there. Senator Paul said that this was that your vote was a bailout for Alaska at the expense of the rest of the country.
Oh my.
That's what Senator Paul said.
What a cunt.
Senator, we've got the
squared up to him.
I didn't say it, ma'am. I'm just asking for your response.
My response is I have an obligation.
Can we watch that again? She just stares at him like like what? Like, why is she so mad at him?
Country.
Oh my.
That's what Senator Paul said. I didn't say it, ma'am. I'm just asking.
Look. I know it's a slightly older style sense of humor. It hits me square. It's just hit that music. Just.
My response is I have an obligation to the people of the state of Alaska. And I live up to that every single day. I fight for my state's interests, and I make sure that Alaskans are understood. I work hard to take care of a state that has more unique situations, more unique people.
Sorry, but pause it for a second. Wait.
What the fuck?
Alaska has more unique situations and unique people. I mean,
does that mean whales?
Well, I'm trying to be a little bit charitable here, and maybe she's talking about like we have indigenous tribes, but I mean other states have. And
it's amazing. So here's the thing: she didn't really get bonuses for Alaska. She got Alaska carved out. So she was looking after Alaska and doing it for that reason. She could have just voted no on the bill. That also would have protected Alaska more, actually, to be frank. Because all these other cuts are still hitting. All these other things. It's just Alaska's exempt from a couple programs for like 2 years. Fucking what an awful person.
Indigenous people as well.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people.
Alaska has a lot of indigenous people. Wonder if anyone recently has said some pretty awful things about indigenous people.
Will come up here and start to drink heavily, perhaps.
Cruises.
You have to deal with like no light for half the year or something like that, and I don't know.
I've been to Ketchikan. I've been to Victoria. I mean, it was nice. I guess Victoria's Canada, but Ketchikan's not. I don't think. But situations, yeah.
There are people on SNAP in every country, in every state in the country.
Yep.
And I don't know why the people in Alaska who need food assistance are unique to the people anywhere else that need food assistance, or I should say uniquely deserving. Let's put it that way. I mean, it really is embarrassing for her. She should have just said, I represent my state.
And
Pick
just
it up.
fucking walked away. Unique. We have more unique situations.
And I live up to that every single day. I fight for my state's interests, and I make sure that Alaskans are understood. I work hard to take care of a state that has more unique situations, more unique people, and it's just different. And so when people suggest that federal dollars go to one of our 50 states in a, quote, bailout, I find that offensive. I advocated for my state's interests. I will continue to do that, and I will make no excuses for doing that. Do I like this bill? No, because I tried to take care of Alaska's interests. But I know,
Red, white, and blue.
I know that in many parts of the country, there are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that we moved through an artificial deadline, an artificial timeline to produce something to meet a deadline rather than to actually try to produce the best bill for the country.
But I still voted for it.
But when I saw the direction that this is going, you can either say, I don't like it, not try to help my state, or you can roll up your sleeves.
Literally the deciding vote person, by the way. If she had said no, it wouldn't have passed. Literally the person.
I mean, this is fascinating because
it is amazing.
She feels so embarrassed and guilty by it, but not so much that I'm going to actually do anything. The option was to vote against it. That was the option. You vote against it. But when I see, there are people across this country who are not going to be
Appreciate it, Ellie. I'm pulling it up and checking it.
advantaged by this bill. I mean, let's be a little more explicit. The only people, let's be clear here. The only people who are going to be advantaged by this are wealthy people. That's it. Period. End of story.
Accurate.
Oil companies. But presumably they're wealthy. I would say also future ICE employees.
No, Leisure did a bit on this. Okay. Well, Leisure's not necessarily always for me, but, that's something. So let's jump in. She apparently went in on all the things with the bill. So let's take a listen.
For free. That will be enough time for Aura is always on that are putting up a stink, especially over the amount of the deficit increases under the Senate bill, which is larger than the House bill. So it's unclear whether they'll meet their deadline, but the major implications of the bill will likely remain the same.
They did meet their deadline. Trump's going to sign it, and it's going to be a big celebration on July 4th. Just wait for it. It's magic how awful this is in kind of a perfect way,
with some minor tweaks as they iron out the details. So I decided to go ahead and make the episode about the one big beautiful bill today, even though we don't have the final version, because very few people know what's in this thing. And
just to mention, Murkowski at no point was not going to vote for this bill. She had no compunction about it. You remember earlier we read a little bit from Anti-Oedipus. There is no meaning in the reasons or goals or things people give for their social investments. Social investments are formed in the actions that lead to goals and defined by the goals already in it. When a person adds to that, I'm not going to vote for it because of this, or this really bothers me, or other things, all of that is cover for the actual movement of desire and drives that is actually forming the social sphere. Not she isn't a person, I'm going to make a choice to do this. She's always this thing. They were always this thing.
There is still time to annoy the shit out of your Republican representatives, unless this thing goes through before I manage to publish this video, in which case it's still very relevant because it's going to tell you what's in this thing, okay? The Democrats are all standing opposed to the bill and are finally throwing up the procedural hurdles we have been begging them.
Even Glusenkamp Perez, who's my congressperson, she calls herself a blue dog Democrat, and she holds prayer circles with Republicans. She is not left. She's not even center. She voted against it. Like every Democrat. You have to remember how fucked up this bill has to be that every Democrat voted against it. There were no enablers.
For months. They won't do anything, but they at least delay the process and make it a headache for Republicans. Where relevant, I will highlight the parts that are different in the House and the Senate versions of the bill. I think a major project for Democrats, after they're done doing too little too late in the process of passing this bill, is to get way fucking better at hammering home how awful this thing is for the average American. That work has largely been left up to the Congressional Budget Office, nonprofit advocacy groups, and the few Democrats in Congress who actually have a social media presence. Because the fact of the matter is that the Trump
AOC's been
regime
doing a good job.
understands advertising and it understands messaging and digital media better than Democrats, full stop. The White House has its own Big Beautiful Bill website. It highlights key economic factors that Americans will care about, like no taxes on tips, in an easy to understand way. It makes it interactive and it makes it all seem legit. To be clear, the numbers on their site are not accurate. They are based on a report by the President's Council of Economic Advisors and presents financial outcomes from this bill that are dramatically and eye-poppingly different than every other think tank or nonprofit's predictions.
They're
about
just straight
the economic
lies.
outcomes of this bill. Their
I know you're
methodology is
surprised.
opaque at best, and they make very generous assumptions about financial outcomes that aren't backed by history or economics or reality. But it makes it look really good on this website. I didn't find anything similar on the Democrat side. Do they not have access to web developers? What is going on? It's just Chuck Schumer in a corner yelling, "It's bad, Trump is bad," over and over, and Cory Booker making PowerPoint slides. What are we doing? Okay, so this bill is nearly 1,000 pages long, but for the ease of understanding, there are just a few broad strokes categories of changes. 1, taxes in the form of credits and deductions. 2, Medicaid. 3, SNAP or food stamp benefits. 4, federal student loans. And 5, immigration. Plus a few.
Oh yeah, fuck. I didn't even mention the student loan shit. God damn. The immigration stuff too. God damn it.
Miscellaneous. Let's start with the changes to the tax code. That is the bulk of this bill. You will notice a theme that these changes tend to mainly benefit middle and higher income earners. According to analysis by the Tax Foundation, quote, "The bills spend far too much money on political gimmicks and carve-outs. The bills further complicate the tax code in several ways, sending taxpayers through a maze of new rules and compliance costs that in many cases likely outweigh potential tax benefit."
So this is why the Tax Foundation is not very good at what they do, in my opinion. I'm actually surprised she's using them as a primary source. The Republicans put in weird loopholes like this that are complicated and amazing things to make sure that the wealthy are able to use those because they're so complicated that IRS agents that have been deeply underfunded across the board won't have time to go after them. That's it. This is by design. This is by design.
First and foremost, the bill makes permanent the cuts of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from 2017, passed during Trump's first term. So those tax brackets would remain in place and change for inflation moving forward. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, as a reminder, lowered the tax rate for all Americans except the lowest wage earners. Okay, and then they made a bunch of changes to tax credits and deductions.
Give us numbers.
The Senate bill would permanently raise the child tax credit to $2,200. The House bill would raise it to $2,500, but require at least one parent to have a Social Security number. That sounds nice, but the problem is that you don't just get that amount of money if you have a kid. That's the cap. The actual amount you get is calculated based on 15% of your adjusted gross income. Additionally, it is only partially refundable. So if you owe a bunch in taxes and make enough money, then you would get that full $2,200 as a deduction to the amount of taxes you owe. So you're paying back $2,200 less than you would.
She was talking middle class and politicians speak is $400,000 a year. So that is the top percent of earners. Just to understand how broken we are. It's again impossible for people to understand how absolutely the wealth disparity has taken over this country, because they think that by having a couple $1 million in savings, because that was a lot when they were, children in 1950s, that's a lot. What they don't get is how money works, or how money works long term, or how actual wealth really operates. $2 to $3 to $4 million is great. That's not wealth. It's not even close. And making $300,000 or $400,000 a year is good. Good for you. If you live in San Francisco or LA or New York or Manhattan, it's not. Try Miami. Make $400,000 a year in Miami. That's decent. Sure. You're going to be spending most of that and taxed on, it's a broken idea, because all of that stuff, and again, just remove wage as a concept. Wealth is still splitting. Income is like how they trick poor people into taxes. If they just literally got rid of income tax as a thing, which they could do, they just would have to increase wealth taxes and capital gains taxes. They just eliminate it. Who gives a fuck? Someone makes $1 million. Who gives a fuck? If they make $1 million a year and they have $50 million, don't tax on the million.
But if your income is lower, then you typically get a return on your taxes as opposed to paying into taxes. The refundable portion is only worth $1,700. We already have this tax credit. It's currently capped at $2,000 under Trump's original Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And according to CNBC, 17 million children do not receive the full $2,000 tax credit because their families don't earn enough or owe enough taxes. So the increase benefits middle and higher income earners the most. The bill includes an increase of the SALT deduction, which stands for state and local tax deduction. That would increase to $40,000. The House made it permanent, but the Senate bill would revert the SALT deduction back to $10,000 by 2030. The benefit phases out for those who have more than $500,000 in income. What that means is that it allows taxpayers who itemize their deductions, meaning instead of taking the standard deduction, which is just a blanket amount, they itemize each deduction individually, to deduct the state and local income and property taxes that they pay. So if I pay $10,000 in state taxes, I can include that as an expense in my federal tax deductions, effectively lowering my taxable income. As you can imagine, this deduction mainly helps upper middle income households. Lower earners generally don't itemize their tax deductions because they earn a regular W-2 income through a paycheck and don't have enough deductions to warrant doing an itemized deduction. Next, the incredibly hyped up no tax on tips or overtime. That's a little misleading. You'll still pay some taxes on your tips and overtime depending on how much you earn. You can avoid paying taxes on up to $25,000 of tip income and up to $12,500 in overtime income if you earn less than $150,000 a year as an individual. The income limits are key to at least trying to help curb against the wealthy abusing this rule, which was a concern that high income industries would start reclassifying some of their income as tips to creatively avoid paying taxes. This is one of the only provisions I saw that genuinely seems to benefit tip industry workers who tend to be on the lower end of the income spectrum. And because of this, the Trump regime is really playing it up, including that interactive calculator on the big, beautiful Bill White House website. But as we'll discuss, when all is said and done, the other cuts in this bill mostly cancel out the lowered taxes on tips and overtime for the lowest wage earners. The bill creates a new type of savings account. It expands 529 college savings accounts, which low-income Americans generally don't use, and creates Trump accounts. The government will deposit $1,000 in.
I hate this a lot.
Into your Trump account as an incentive for having a baby. So you have a baby, you get $1,000. And then taxpayers can add up to $5,000 per year that will grow tax-free until the beneficiary, the baby, withdraws the money at 18 or older. According to the Tax Foundation, quote, the major effect is to introduce a new baby bonus entitlement that requires taxpayers to track yet another small dollar account for 18 plus years. This is a missed opportunity to simplify saving.
Honest to God, like the people who wrote this are grandparents. For those of you who don't know or aren't old enough, it was very common around the time, actually kind of fizzled around the time I got old enough for it, but it was very common for people to open up a life insurance policy or life fund for a child. Gerber had this. In my parents' time, my grandparents' time, it's very common to do this for a newborn baby. A grandparent would do it. They'd open it up and you put a little bit, couple bucks in there every once in a while. But the thing is, that is not great money. That's not the setup. It's money, but like it's not a lot. And a lot of this, and it's again, when you start seeing like the effect of how this works or how it plays into it, this is all just incredibly childish. It's really, really stupid.
And improve financial security for all Americans. The bill creates a senior bonus deduction. The House proposed $4,000. The Senate raised it to $6,000. It's called a bonus, but it's not a bonus. It's a tax deduction for individuals over 65 with up to $75,000 in adjusted gross income. This will be helpful for middle-income seniors, but will not benefit low-income seniors because they don't make enough money to pay taxes and therefore won't benefit from a tax deduction. The bill includes a car loan interest deduction, where individuals with less than $100,000 in annual income could deduct up to $10,000 of annual interest.
I mean, it's just fucking,
in practice,
this just hurts.
Biden-era Inflation Reduction Act green energy tax credits, especially for individuals, such as those that you get when you buy an electric car or solar panels for your house. It introduces Foreign Entity of Concern, or FEOC, restrictions. So energy projects that would qualify for a credit, but that include involvement from China or Chinese-made parts, for example, wouldn't be eligible. One of the only tax credits it leaves intact from the Inflation Reduction Act is the Clean Fuel Production Tax Credit, a credit for businesses that create clean fuel. And one of my best friends actually works in sustainable fuels and was able to give me some tea on this one, so thank you to Meg. She explained that to qualify for the credit, the fuels have to reduce emissions by a certain amount. But the change in the big beautiful bill allows for certain emissions to no longer be counted. And the kind you don't have to count towards your emissions totals anymore are the ones that you...
This makes me want to take a nap. This is so many. It's not her fault. It's not like it's boring. It's just, this is so much. All right, the Medicaid. So here's the stuff that's going to ruin people's lives and kill people.
Bill removes premium tax credits that low-income Americans can use to help offset the cost of health insurance premiums. The Senate version of the bill also cuts $1 trillion from Medicaid. The House version made $800 billion in cuts. This includes cuts to states and to providers, which would force states to make up the difference either by increasing state taxes, tightening qualification requirements, or eliminating certain benefits. And providers will have to close their doors or operate while understaffed without that funding, which will impact everyone trying to access our healthcare system, regardless of whether or not they get Medicaid benefits. There are new work rules that would require Medicaid beneficiaries who are 19 to 60.
This is huge. This is actually, we'll see how she does it, but it's like the worst. Remember that Trump is a 70 IQ? Oh no. I think he's sundowning now. For sure, has been for a while. But all these people are, these senators and Congress, they know what's in this. They have advisors. They have legal advisors. They know what's in this thing.
64 years old to work at least 80 hours per month unless they qualify for an exemption. That means that they would need to send proof to the government that they are working or exempt from work requirements regularly. Eligibility redeterminations would be required to happen every 6 months instead of every 12 months like they are now. And every new check-in presents a new opportunity for people to fall through the cracks, either from bureaucratic mishandling or just living in poverty and having to also remember to file shit with the federal government. I already made...
Like I said, the evil of this is not actually, I mean, it's bad enough on its own. But the interaction here is the big thing, because they cut the budget of the administration of it. And they didn't add a if you're exempt thing that you do once a year. It's constant. And it's constantly got to be checked and double checked. And if you fall through the cracks, which will happen when you make the cuts that they've made to Medicaid, and you add extra things that those things have to do, people will fall through the cracks. They won't get it, and they won't know it.
Made a whole episode about why work requirements do not work. The Senate version of the bill has stricter requirements for parents. They can only claim work exemptions if they have a dependent 14 or under. And I guess the idea being
what?
Living in poverty and having to also remember to file shit with the federal government. I already made a whole episode about why work requirements do not work. The Senate version of the bill has stricter requirements for parents. They can only claim work exemptions if they have a dependent 14 or under.
Holy shit. Holy shit. And that's the version that passed. Holy shit.
And I guess the idea being your kid is 15 now, get back to work and send that child into the mines while you're at it. She yearns for them anyway.
Her sarcasm belies that that's not funny because it's real, as Republicans in every single state are trying to lower the working age to 14. Literally that age. What the fuck?
There would also be a new $35 co-payment charge to patients using Medicaid services. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that
Oh God. One sec. I thought I read this bill. One sec. I thought I read this bill. I don't remember that. I don't think she's lying. I she's right. Oh my God. So, she's right. She's right. For those of you going, wait, 14? How you doing? Do you recognize this cunt? Smoky-eyed fat bitch. Fucking hate her guts. Fuck this bitch. I hate her guts. Mike Huckabee's ugly-ass fucking terrible daughter. Pardon for the slurs. I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say those things. I just really... She signed a law this week rolling back requirements. The state verify the ages of workers under 16 and provide them with work certificates. Okay? I know I need to chill. Just this really angers me. The new law signed by a Republican governor applies to those who are 14 and 15 years old because in most cases, Arkansas businesses can't employ those under 14. Under the act, children under 16 don't have to get the Division of Labor's permission to be employed. The state also no longer has to verify the age of those under 16 before they take a job. Do you get that? So, if you're under the age of 16, you have to work. In a lot of states, you can do it, but you have to go to the Department of Labor of the state, and you actually have to apply and get a permit. Now, there's reasons for this. It's common. I have a friend whose parents had a restaurant. They got a work permit when they were 13 or 14. Again, they weren't working every night, but they needed a permit to be able to work in the restaurant. They worked on the weekends. Their dad needed help. I get that. But they needed to go somewhere and go, hey, explain it. That thing needed to happen. Do you know why? Because it's abusive otherwise. It's not, hey, how are we limiting? How are we setting it up? What age are they? If they don't have to get the permit anymore, they're just normal employees. Opponents say the work certificates protected vulnerable youth from exploitation. It was wild to listen to adults argue in favor of eliminating the one-page form that helps the Department of Labor ensure young workers aren't being exploited. Yeah, that's why I hate her. So 14's the age, and lo and behold, 14's the age. But again, what do you expect? Republicans and Libertarians, they want to lower the age to 14 for a lot of things.
12 million Americans would lose insurance by 2034 under the big, beautiful bill. Another major change is that students using Medicaid services. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that 12 million Americans would lose insurance by 2034 under the big, beautiful bill.
Copays. Here's how this works, by the way. Here's how you bankrupt a medical system. Copays are what it charges for you to go to the doctor. So let's say you're on Medicaid. You're there. because you can't afford real insurance. So you're poor. $35 is not a small amount to someone who's very poor. It's just not. So you go, oh, look, 34 bucks, 35 bucks. That's like a meal at McDonald's or KFC for my family. I'll skip today. I won't go to the doctor. What happens is you end up going to the emergency room. So that copay of 35 bucks actually doesn't offset the costs. It increases the costs. Almost like they want to completely bankrupt and ruin it.
Another major change is that food stamp or SNAP benefits will be reduced. The Congressional Budget Office estimates around 40 million people may have their SNAP benefits affected by these cuts, including 16 million children. The bill requires states to make up the difference.
Get to work, fuckers.
In the budget cuts. Typically, SNAP is 100% federally funded.
Thoughts on Carl Jung? It's not interesting. It's fun. If you're reading it the same way you might read Infinite Jest, you're in for a good time. If you're reading it as though he has any handle on anything that's interesting, I'm sorry.
There would also be new work requirements for SNAP. SNAP already has some work requirements, but it would require recipients aged 55 to 64 to be working in order to receive benefits, as well as requiring parents with children 14 and over to work. According to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, about 600,000 low-income households would see their SNAP benefits cut by an average of $100 per month. The average household receives about $320 per month currently, so that's a reduction in their food budget by, on average, about a third. At the same time,
do you know how much food stamps gives people now? Because I could go to the store, like spend money for a family. It's hard for a lot of people because you don't really know what a family buys. You'll spend, like if you're cooking at home, we cook all of our meals at home. We go out once in a while. We'll go to like Burgerville's, our local burger place. Occasionally we order pizza in. Not very often. Most often if we go out, it's Costco hot dogs. But we really cook everything at home. You will spend $300 to $400 a week on food for a family of four. At Walmart, not buying deep brand names. Beef is $10 a pound at Walmart. So if I'm cooking burgers for family, the cheapest I'm going to get all that stuff to be able to make burgers, which is not a complicated meal. 25, 30, 40 bucks. Tomatoes and ketchup and all that stuff. If I go with only the basics, it's 20, 25 bucks. Buns, all that shit, cheese. I do that 3 times a day. That's the cheapest. Washington, food stamps covers very well. And I'm very fortunate to live where I do. But they give you enough for that. It's a good amount. And it makes sure that kids can eat and kids don't go hungry. Losing a third of that would, for everyone I know, be catastrophic. Catastrophic.
That prices everywhere are skyrocketing. And in the area of education, student loans will be affected. The bill creates caps on how much money students can borrow. It puts a lifetime borrowing limit of about $250,000. It caps parent borrowing through Parent Plus loans at $20,000 per year with a $65,000 lifetime limit. It eliminates Grad Plus loans, caps unsubsidized loans for grad students at $20,500 per year and $100,000 lifetime, though professional degrees like medical and legal degrees get up to $50,000 per year with a $200,000 lifetime cap.
Why?
For context, a law degree costs probably around $150,000 for the 3 years that you're in school. You also cannot work during your first year. That's like ABA guidelines. And you probably shouldn't work during the second and third years, especially if you want to get ahead. I got a full ride scholarship for my law school and still went $60,000 into debt to cover the cost of living in Boston for 3 years. If I hadn't gotten any financial aid, I would have easily surpassed that $200,000 borrowing cap. Under the bill, many
There is a weight to so much of these decisions. It is in my brain. I'm having a very difficult time parsing the impact this is going to have. This is an extraordinary impact. This is so hard.
Many student loan repayment options will be phased out, with just 2 repayment options remaining: the standard repayment plan or the income-based repayment plan, and it would get rid of unemployment and economic hardship deferment. According to The Hill, advocates warn the new plans will raise the monthly payments for most borrowers and removes an important student loan safety net. It will push students and parents into more risky and expensive private student loans, and of course, no one should go more than $250,000.
No, it's not going to push more people into it. It's going to explode the private student loan industry. It'll go huge, which is a pretty unregulated nightmare thing that is a unique kind of debt that can't be eliminated via bankruptcy. Thanks, Biden. By the way, Biden.
$1,000 into debt for higher education. But this doesn't really address the underlying issue with our education system. Instead, it just limits who can borrow and therefore who can access higher education in this country. Especially combined with the Trump regime's attacks on funding for higher education, this means that schools will be left to make up the difference in financial aid for lower income students while also receiving less in federal aid unless they bend the knee to Trump. Low-income students will be the ones to be hurt the most. On top of that, the bill increases the amount of tax that private universities have to pay on the income from their endowments. It's currently set at 1.4% tax, and the bill will increase that to 8%
Holy
for colleges
fuck.
whose endowments exceed $2 million per enrolled student. It is once again an attack.
Boy, I wonder if there's any colleges they're aiming at.
On higher ed, especially elite institutions who have the largest endowments. And another major issue in the bill is immigration, the central policy area of the entire Trump regime, and therefore a very big focus of the bill. The bill gives $350 billion for Trump's immigration agenda, including $46 billion for that stupid wall he keeps promising, $45 billion for 100,000 migrant detention facility beds, 10,000 new ICE officers, including a $10,000 signing bonus. It would create a $10 billion fund that would give grants to reward states that help federal immigration officials. It also provides $25 billion for Trump's controversial Golden Dome missile defense system. It will also increase fees
Israel's dome doesn't even work.
that immigrants have to pay to apply for asylum, work authorization, immigration court filings, temporary protected status, and more. And it would limit access to federal benefits so a larger group of...
All right. Hey, chat. Yeah, you. Stop it. Stop it. Stop. Chill. That convo stops now. Chill. Chill. Umver and Black Brickgriff. Chill. People going back and forth. No. It's not a thing we do here. You're now talking past each other. Ain't what we doing. Move on. Move on. Mods, just watch them. Don't do anything. Just give them a nudge in the right direction.
Of immigrants, including refugees.
All the rest of you are awesome. You two are usually awesome. Chill the fuck out.
Asylum seekers, victims of domestic violence and sex trafficking would no longer qualify for federal aid. During the course of these Senate debates on the bill, the Senate threw out the provision in the House bill that would bar states from regulating AI for 10 years. That got thrown out with a vote of 99-1 and is frankly a relief because it would have allowed AI to flourish with no regulation for a decade. Just seeing how far it's come since ChatGPT first crawled its way out of its own primordial sludge a couple years ago, unchecked AI growth for a decade was a scary prospect. The Senate also increased rural hospital subsidies to $50 billion over 5 years, acknowledging that the cuts to Medicaid will hurt providers, especially rural hospitals, because unfortunately for Republicans...
That already have started shutting down as of today, actually. I saw this. Because it's just... this is... Like, it's What the fuck, man? Oh, there you are, you fucking awful bitch. All right. Just today, this is a fucking Southwest Nebraska Medical Center announces plans to close because they won't be funded. Community hospital in McCook. They service around 1,500 people. We're done. A current financial environment driven by anticipated federal budget cuts to Medicaid make it impossible for us to continue operating our services, many of which have faced significant financial challenges for years. Earlier this week, during a Zoom meeting put on by multi-state organization United Today, Stronger Tomorrow, officials estimated up to 6 Nebraska hospitals will be closing. They will be closing. We have 6 hospitals that are in critical financial state, 3 in an impending closure or conversion over the rural emergency hospital model, which means that they're not really hospitals anymore. In a statement Thursday, Nebraska Hospital Association said 44% of the state's rural hospitals are already losing money. This is Nebraska. That's it. The day is coming when more than 70,000 citizens will lose Medicaid coverage. Rural hospitals will be forced to eliminate services and will come to a close. And individuals and small businesses with commercial insurance will be forced to pay higher premiums to close the funding gap in our healthcare system. Well, Sarah Emanuel, see, if you're going to mention Israel, the good news is Nebraska is going to have to worry less about Israel bombing them. They'll have fewer hospitals. It's Israel's favorite thing to bomb.
Republicans, a lot of their constituents rely on rural hospitals, so this is something that they can point to and say, see, I'm definitely working for you. Ignore all the other cuts to your benefits. Okay.
Except, again, the amount of money being cut that is, directly cut, it's only 40% that they're making up for. That will not be going to rural hospitals. That's not how that works. And it's also only this year. So it's...
That's what's in the bill. What does this mean for you, big picture?
She missed a few things.
After-tax income would temporarily increase for all Americans. Looking at 2026 specifically.
We're good there. I don't need to dive further. I'm hurting so much. This is so fucking awful. Insomnia, nearest hospital from here is 50 miles away. People don't understand that one of the things the government has done, because they're fucking stupid. They think that, the market, hospitals are here because people there support them. People don't understand that, like, most hospitals, especially those not in a city, but even those in a city, are mostly subsidized, even with the insane costs and everything and insurance and all that. Still subsidized because it's not profitable. It's not profitable. They don't put hospitals there. So it's like a last mile delivery for USPS. Shut down USPS, you ain't getting mail. It's going to be like sending something to like the backwoods of Zaire, which actually has more of a modern thing going than we would if we shut down. I think it's crazy. We're so fucked.
Because projections beyond that are tricky, given that some of these things expire in a few years. According to the Tax Policy Center.
And remember, they changed the tax basis so that it extends permanently, even though the tax cuts expire. Man.
The bottom 20% would see an increase of about 0.8% to their after-tax income. The second quintile by 1.6%. The middle 40 to 60% of wage earners would see income increases of 2.3%. The 60 to 80% wage earners would see increases of 2.6%. And the top 80 to 100% of wage earners would see after-tax income increases of 3.4%.
Which
this
is
all
nothing.
sounds pretty hunky-dory until you do the math on what those percentages actually mean.
Yeah.
And then start to look at all the other benefits that are being cut beyond the tax savings.
Like literally you could see in the numbers as she's putting them up, the actual people who are saving money, they're not even like hard cash. they're getting more of a percentage. They just built this to support the wealthy.
3.4%. And this all sounds pretty hunky-dory until you do the math on what those percentages actually mean, and then start to look at all the other benefits that are being cut beyond the tax savings. Because the reality is that Republicans like to wave lower taxes in the air and say, this is what prosperity looks like. But that ignores the increased cost of living for the lowest income earners who lose out on social services and safety nets. And the reality is that a 0.8% increase in after-tax wages for the lowest quintile of income earners means on average they'll be paying about $150 less in taxes for that lowest wage earner in the country. The second lowest quintile would see about $750 in lower taxes. $150 or even $700.
Any of you remember in the before times where Kansas felt like that they would be the libertarian future? In 2012, it's a while back, Kansas enacted in 2012 and 2013 deep income cuts for business owners and high-income Kansans. And it did nothing. It actually destroyed the state financially. At the urging of Brownback, who is a huge piece of shit, lawmakers cut the top rate of the state's income tax by 30% and the tax rate on businesses, oh no, pretzels, tax rate on certain business profits to zero. Zero. Under supply-side economic theory, these deep tax cuts should have acted, as Brownback predicted, like a shot of adrenaline, stimulating growth in economic job output, job creation, and new business formation. Because he's a fucking moron. Here's how business works. Okay, I'm gonna give you you're gonna get a BA in BA. Okay, here's how it works. I do a thing that makes money. Doesn't matter what it is. I can be a prostitute. I can be a guy that drinks water. I can be a foot model. I can make food for people. I can have a factory. I do things that what I do produces money. I'm a YouTuber. Sure. It's not primary job. Maybe someday I'll be lucky enough to do philosophy full time. Someday. Support me, patreon.com/DGQC, send a membership and do all those fun things with Super Chats. And I make $100. I will hire people if it can help me make more money. If I make a lot of money, but hiring someone else doesn't actually help me make more money, I'm not going to hire more people. That's business. There you go. That's the entirety of how business functions forever and ever will in any capacity. Anyone who says that side of things, look, the job creators just need more money. That's what, no, because if we have, let's say we have a 99% tax on business profit. If I can get 1% more by hiring someone, I'll do that. And since I don't pay taxes, that 99% on that person's wages, if that person raises my income by 3 or 4x, it's another few percent. I will hire people if I can make more money. Karl Marx understood this, but so do children. That's it. Taxes actually force innovation. Modest taxes can entice it. I'm not even going to say that. Welcome to the channel. Yay, subscribers. I won't even say that. Heavy taxes force innovation because stagnation as a thing, businesses come about and become successful because they're innovative. It's actually the thing that makes a new business work. You have to do something no one else is doing, building a better mousetrap, whatever it may be. The fun part is that innovation that made you successful. Pick a company, Twitter, Facebook, Microsoft, whatever. The thing you did that made money, you kind of, because you're stupid, because you're a person, we're all stupid. You, because you're in a position now of success, you don't want to keep innovating. You stop. Success actually makes you stop innovating. Taxing a person changes that. It forces them to work more or do more things to make money, or by keeping pressure very heavy on the amount of money a business can have, it forces other people to compete better. So it's actually, the short version is, if you're an American, everything they've ever said to you about taxes is a lie. Everything they've ever said about profit is a lie. And it's very, very simple. And you can just go talk to the guy who owns your local donut store and ask him, hey, if you had no taxes, would you hire more people? And you go, no. What? Because he would keep the money unless it can make him more money, which taxes don't affect. There you go. You're welcome. You have a complete business degree as far as I'm concerned. Enjoy. Enjoy. I heard Sam's metaphor taking a... If I have a business, I'm just going to stick with this for now. If I have a business and I can make more money by hiring you, I'll do it. I also, by the way, no one ever gets paid what they're worth, because whatever money you make me, if I am not going to make it, I'm not going to hire you. So necessarily, I won't pay you what you're worth. You're welcome. That's it. So, Sam Brownback and Republicans are all very stupid. Kansas's 4.2% private sector job growth from December 2012 to May 2017 was lower than all of its neighbors, except Oklahoma, which didn't do well, and half of the 9.4% job growth in the United States. Wow, it's almost like people who can hoard, and if they hey, I made a bunch more money without having to hire more people. Cool. That's it. A number of Kansas residents reporting income on their federal tax returns from a partnership or S corporation grew by 4%. Boy, it's almost like a bunch of people made those things so that way they wouldn't have to do it. Kansas revenues plunged. See, this is the other lie. The big, beautiful bill lie is this: the Republicans promise there'll be so much job growth and economic growth that it'll offset because we are unleashing the world. And it's never worked like that. Not only has it never worked like that, it's done the opposite. So they're liars, but they know they're liars because they just want to make a bunch of money so they can then use that money to buy a bunch more things and continue to gain power, because you don't have power. You don't have any power. No, you don't. Not at all. Not at all. State spending was constrained, falling between 2012 and 2016 budget years by 5.5% on a per person basis after adjusting for inflation. Moreover, had the state cut spending more deeply, job creation and economic growth would have slowed even more. To forestall deeper spending cuts, Kansas increased its sales tax to replace some of the lost income tax revenue, a policy choice that, many critics frequently claim will boost states' economies. But it doesn't. Weird. It's insane. These people are insane. We've had it. We've had it. I don't know what a Batman-style leftist is. I don't know what these things mean. I am disconnected from what you kids do on the TikTok. So you've got to do better than that. All right, real quick. We're just going to watch someone who's a dumbass.
The big, beautiful bill passed. Of course it did. Of course it did. We all knew that it would.
Every day, more and more, it looks like he would only need one of the two swimming goggles.
Didn't we? No, we didn't. I was getting emails from people. David, let's call this senator and get him to oppose the bill. And let's do this and let's do that. I said it weeks ago, okay? This bill is going to pass. Republicans were always going to pass some version of this damn bill in the Senate.
It's true.
The day it passed the House, on the bonus show, I said to Pat, you know what's going to happen, right? You're going to have a handful of Republican senators. They're going to suck up media attention. People are going to go, oh, let's convince this person or that person not to vote for the bill, and then they don't have the 50 that they need.
Hey, good for Pac-Man. He's usually pretty awful.
Apoplectic headlines.
He does need to shave. The facial hair is very bad for you, Pac-Man. You're never seeing this because you don't care. But this is not a good look.
For days, 4, 5, 6 days. People staying up all night. You should see the chat threads I'm in. Let's call this person's office.
No, they're not.
They don't have the votes. If you have any idea how this works, you would have known the moment it passed the House. Republicans are going to pass this. And it's just a matter of offering enough goodies. We flipped one vote. Now Murkowski doesn't like the bill.
He's right. Good. Why would this cost you your audience, you fucking weirdo?
And sometimes I end up in the position where I think some in my audience want me to sell a feel-good story. We can stop this thing if you just make the right
No one
phone
cares.
call.
You're a fucking weirdo. That's whatever. No one cares. No one cares. I think we're fucked. I think we're deeply fucked. And in that fuckedness that we exist in, which is pretty significant to be perfectly frank, and I appreciate it because it is shit and we are in shit and it is no good. I get it. But in that shit, that festival of shit that we are in, I would encourage, as the depression hits you, as the things happen, first, it's not different than I've said every other time these bills have passed and how awful Trump has been. Find people near you that you care about that are going to be affected by this and find out how you can support them. Everyone here who is in America, everyone knows someone who's going to be impacted this in a significant way. They may be stupid. They may not know better. They may be older people who think on Medicare, it's not going to affect me as much. They don't understand how awful this is going to get, and already they're fucked. Don't go to them screaming, told you so, told you so. It won't do anything. Go to them and let them know, hey, as shit gets tougher, let's figure out what we can do. In it together mentality. It's the only way to move forward on this. Secondly, think of new possible political projects. I'm in the process of this. I'm doing this with a few other people. As things happen, I'm happy to share. It's not on me. It's on all of you as well. Think of things that might be good ideas that people could be attracted to, that can actually shift. We do not have, right now, the normal political order. In the next 2 years, it will completely collapse. It's going to completely collapse. We're not going to have a normal election for the midterms here. We ain't. It's going to be weird. The Democrats are going to be trying and they're going to be failing. There is every reality that Musk thinks he's a badass by starting the American Party because he's a deficit hawk. He'll probably fold back in. These people are idiots. But the Democrats will not win, and we won't be able to change anything if the only idea is not them. We need an affirmative political project. Find out what attracts you. Get out there, get involved in minor ways. Work a soup kitchen. Work a food bank. Great way to do it. Find some local nonprofit. Call them and be like, hey, I don't like going out of my house, but I want to help. What can I do? They'll tell you. No one calls them. No one asks this. Find out something you care about. Start doing it and figure out why you like it. Figure out why other people might, and figure out the story you have to tell to get other people invested in this. Start building something. That thing is our last hope. That's it. You've got to do it. Don't be fucking stupid. And Goddard, I'll say, I actually think this will not radicalize liberals. It's going to change what liberal means significantly. I think we're going to have a radical dim soc kind of mentality amongst a lot of people who are no longer going to call themselves liberals. I think we're going to see a lot of very angry people from the right. Because the people who identify or see themselves in the system that are getting fucked, and there's it's not just the poor people. Because remember, Trumpers aren't really the poor people. They're the middle class, upper class, and way upper class. But they're all getting fucked, except for the very, very upper class. They're all getting fucked. They're going to see their kids fucked. That thing is going to change how they relate to this presidency. It's not going to be tomorrow. They're not intellectual enough to be able to read the bill and know how this is happening. They're not intellectual enough to understand when people tell them bad things are coming. But when, in January, Medicare, Medicaid cuts start happening, when things are happening, hospitals are closing, when they're off of the ACA, when they have co-pays suddenly, when they have whatever happening, that anger, which they had, it's one of the reasons that they joined Trump and that they voted the way that they did. It's one of the things that is kind of a commonality. That anger is going to be growing. And if you don't find a use for it, it will find a use for it. That's how it always has worked. That's how it's always worked. I'm ending because I'm fried and I want to go read. Do you I have a very unique kid. Dexter's a very unique kid. His favorite book for me to read for 2 years straight for bedtime was the first chapter of Dune. I don't know why. He really, really loved it. Hand to God, I basically pick up books and I read a page and he's like, he doesn't like things. When he says yes, it just makes me go, okay. You really like House of Leaves? He does. He really likes House of Leaves. And if you don't know, enjoy. Is he a prodigy? I don't know if it's that. It may be that because I like it more, I'm more passionate while reading it versus other things. I'm hesitant there. He doesn't like a lot of my favorite stuff. So maybe, I might also just have a terrible book selection. But House of Leaves, I read the fucking opening to him, and he's not freaked out by it. He thinks it's the coolest story he's ever heard. Which, to be fair, it is. It is slightly smaller than I thought it would be, and it is slightly smaller than it is. So I'm going to go do that. I am going to send you to a friend of ours. And it's an easy thing. It's Rezi. I think he's the only person I follow that's live right now. So you're going to go off. Rezi doesn't do politics very often. He tends to be a little drama, a little fun, a little weird. I always appreciate Rezi. He's a really odd guy. And I appreciate odd guys. So I want to say, before I go, as always, these streams are highlights for me. Talking to you people, hearing about you, getting responses, all of these things, just wonderful. I adore you all. And I want to say thank you. Especially after the last video, if you haven't read the comments, it's nice to have a handful of people who are like, not calling me transphobic. Which is, I'm thankful for that. But thank you for people in general supporting. If you can support me, if you're financially in a position, if you're not, fuck off and just join the Discord. Everyone should just join the Discord, always. And don't stress about anything. I am not going to die tomorrow. Keep your $5. Buy your cigarettes, buy your booze, buy your food. I don't care. No judgments. But if you can't afford it, it'd be great. Cup of coffee a month from you changes everything for me. Patreon.com/DGQC. Of course, memberships here, always good. Super chats, pretty good. But the best thing you can do is join the collective. Do so by heading to discord.gg/DGQC. And I want to just let you know, if you're in there and 92, who you'll get to know, says shit, enjoy the ride. 92 is one of my favorite fucking people in that server. Enjoy the ride. Thank you all, and I appreciate it. And I'll see you all